Chapter 2384. No. If this continues, I will definitely lose. I have to think of a way to bring Brother Ling Xiao out of here. Jin Se thought to herself. Her gaze fell on Ling Xiao in the distance. At this moment, Ling Xiao was still devouring the heavenly prison blood sun, but the outer layer of cocoon had begun to slowly disappear. The devouring was nearing the end. Cough. When Jin Se used the yin-yang tai chi diagram to chase after Saint King Fen Tian, her face suddenly turned pale. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth, and her breath became chaotic. Using the yin-yang tai chi diagram and the time compass in succession consumed a lot of Jin Se's energy. Now she finally could not bear it anymore. Boom. One of Saint King Fen Tian's fire avatars took the opportunity to slap Jin Se's back, causing her to tremble. Her body staggered as she spat out a mouthful of blood. Is that woman going to lose? Everyone could not help but be shocked. Especially Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Young Master, and Giant Axe. They originally thought that there would be a fierce battle, and in the end it was very likely that both sides would be injured. They did not expect such an outcome. Bastard. Saint King Fen Tian is too shameless. Is there any meaning in bullying a weak woman like this? If he is a man, he should fight with real swords and spears. Giant Axe whispered softly, his eyes were filled with unwillingness. Purple Thunder Young Master said helplessly. There is no other way. That woman has two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Saint King Fen Tian can only avoid them. It is understandable that he chose to fight. However, he is a Saint King. Even if he wins, he will be laughed at by others. Don't you two understand? There is no such thing as being laughed at in the heavenly prison field. It has always been the strong that is respected. Think about it. If Saint King Fen Tian obtains the two extreme Dao Emperor weapons, what will happen? Hu Feng shook his head and said. He will dominate the heavenly prison field. Purple Thunder Young Master's body trembled. This thought also shocked him. Saint King Fen Tian was one of the 10 great Saint Kings of the Heaven Prison Realm. The Lord of the Saint City of Fen Tian. If he had two extreme Dao Monarch weapons in his hands, he would definitely be able to suppress the other 9 great Saint Kings. Even if an Imperial Emperor appeared, he would still have the power to fight. By then, it would not be a joke for him to dominate the Heaven Prison Realm. Both the Great Axe and the Purple Thunder Prince realized the seriousness of the matter. The Heaven Prison Court had been in chaos for many years now. Every city was fighting for themselves, and all of them were vicious and unruly. Naturally, no one could tame them, and that was because there was no one who could suppress the Heaven Prison Court in terms of strength after so many years. And now, they saw hope in the burning Heaven Saint King. Therefore, we can't let Saint King Fen Tian obtain those two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. We have to help that woman once. Hu Feng said slowly as a glimmer of light flashed in his eyes. How can I help? That was a Saint King. We don't even have a great sage among us. Huge Axe said with a bitter smile. There's always a chance. Hu Feng said noncommittally. Boom. Saint King Fen Tian attacked again. Taking advantage of Jin Se's yin-yang tai chi diagram and time compass, he attacked Jin Se's arm. Golden flames burned fiercely, breaking one of Jin Se's arms, turning it into a bloody mess. Cough cough. I won't let anyone hurt Big Brother Ling Xiao. Jin Se said softly, her eyes were filled with determination. Rumble. Her weak body straightened up again, like a divine sword piercing the sky. Yin and Yang Qi intertwined around her, and bright divine light and runes swirled around her. All of them were poured into the time compass. And then she flew towards Saint King Fen Tian. The vast power of time surged and became extremely chaotic. It was as if a long river of time had appeared between heaven and earth, and it directly wrapped around Saint King Fen Tian. You're an arrow at the end of its flight, and you still dare to show off? Saint King Fen Tian sneered. He could see that this was the strongest power that Jin Se could unleash after burning her life source. If this attack didn't hit, then Jin Se would lose all combat power. Whoosh. A golden ring rose from Saint King Fen Tian's body. It contained an indestructible power, and a vast extreme emperor's aura spread out. It suddenly collided with the time compass. Clang! A clear and melodious voice came from the void, and the sound wave spread out like a substance. Wherever it went, endless flames were annihilated, mountains, rivers, and trees were completely turned into dust, and the chaotic time domain around the burning heaven Saint King was also instantly broken. As for the golden ring, it spun towards the time compass, and it contained a power that could imprison everything. That's the diamond bracelet? Giant Axe exclaimed as he recognized the origin of the golden ring. That's right. It's Saint King Funtion's natal treasure, the diamond bracelet. Legend has it that it has the power of a quasi-emperor weapon, and it can imprison all divine weapons. However, using the diamond bracelet to deal with an extreme emperor weapon is a bit too much, right? Isn't he afraid that the diamond bracelet will be destroyed? Purple Thunder young master said doubtfully. I'm afraid that woman is already an arrow at the end of its flight. Although an extreme emperor weapon is strong, I'm afraid it can't stop the diamond bracelet. Hu Feng said slowly. As if to prove Hu Feng's words, the time compass that was trapped by the diamond bracelet tried to resist, but it couldn't break the seal of the time compass. Clang, clang, clang. Sparks flew in all directions in the void, and runes surged before completely shattering. The time compass struggled less and less, and in the end, it was completely trapped by the diamond bracelet. You bastard. A trace of despair appeared in Jin Sei's eyes. It was like the last straw that broke the camel's back. Her entire body trembled, and blood mist spurted out from her pores. In an instant, her body was a bloody mess. I want this Apex Monarch weapon, and the one you're wearing, and your entire body. Don't worry, I won't let a person with the supreme Taoist body die. Saint King Funtion sneered, and reached out his hand to grab Jin Sei. He was extremely cautious, so after seeing that Jin Sei had become weak, he still tested her many times. In the end, when he was sure that Jin Sei really didn't have any more strength to fight, he finally made a move himself. Saint King Funtion stood in the void, and his expression was incomparably cold. He looked at Jin Sei below as if he was looking at an ant. His entire body exuded a domineering and majestic aura. A huge palm print came down from the sky, causing the surrounding sky to tremble. Rumble. Chapter 2385. Just as Jin Sei was about to fall into Saint King Burning Heaven's hands, Jin Sei suddenly raised her head. There was no trace of despair in her eyes. There was only determination and indifference, as well as a hint of mockery. Not good. After seeing Jin Sei's gaze, Saint King Burning Heaven's heart skipped a beat. He felt that something was wrong and dangerous. Although he didn't know where the danger came from, he instantly leaped up and teleported behind him. Rumble. At that moment, a yin-yang Tai Chi diagram appeared under Saint King Burning Heaven's feet. Black and white Qi intertwined with Tao and reason, and Saint King Burning Heaven stood in the center of the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. Yin and Yang Qi rose up and instantly formed a vast world around Saint King Burning Heaven. It was vast and boundless. Before Saint King Burning Heaven could teleport away, he was instantly sucked into it. At the same time, the time compass also shone brightly in the void. Vast extreme emperor's aura gushed out and rushed out from the Vajra bracelet. It rumbled and suppressed Saint King Burning Heaven in the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. At that moment, Jin Sei's aura was vast and mighty. Her life source was incomparably dense. She didn't show any signs of being injured at all. She used all her strength to activate the two extreme emperor's weapons and attack Saint King Burning Heaven. It turned out that Jin Sei had beaten him at his own game. When she saw that Saint King Burning Heaven wanted to exhaust her energy, she was prepared to beat him at his own game. She pretended to be exhausted and didn't even hesitate to take on Saint King Burning Heaven's probing attacks. Although she had just become a saint, she had also devoured a large amount of life force in the process of dual cultivation with Ling Xiao. Moreover, she had obtained great benefits. She had completely stabilized her cultivation as a saint, saving her 1,000 years of effort. At the same time, due to the heavenly fate on Ling Xiao's body, she had also absorbed a trace of heavenly fate. With the support of heavenly fate, it had become much easier for her to control the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram and time compass. Saint King Burning Heaven didn't know that. By the time he realized it, he had already fallen into Jin Sei's trap. The yin-yang Tai Chi diagram formed a space of its own. It contained yin and yang qi that could decompose and destroy everything. Even Saint King Burning Heaven would find it extremely difficult to escape from it, not to mention the suppression of the time compass. Crack! Within the yin-yang taiji diagram, the chaotic yin and yang energies interweaved. Spatial blades, the power of laws, and even the chaotic lightning all enveloped the Burning Heaven Saint King. Around the burning sky Saint King, a mysterious scene of the creation of heaven and earth appeared. Bolts of lightning containing endless destructive power kept falling towards the burning sky Saint King. At the same time, the time compass was like a mountain as it appeared above Saint King Burning Sky. The vast power of time intertwined, causing Saint King Burning Sky's expression to instantly change. Damn it! Burning Heaven Saint King's expression was incomparably ugly. He never thought that Jinsei would actually set up such a trap for him. If they were in the outside world, he would not be afraid even if Jinsei had two extreme Dao Emperor weapons. However, he was currently trapped in the world of the extreme Dao Emperor weapons, and could only defend himself passively. The true burning flames intertwined around his body, constantly colliding with the surrounding thunderbolts, shattering them one by one, completely turning them into dust. However, the boundless power of laws in the surroundings made it so that he could only deal with it tiredly. Rumble. The time compass suppressed him like an ancient mountain. The chaotic power of time made Saint King Burning Sky feel as if he was stuck in a quagmire and unable to extricate himself. Get out of my way! Saint King Burning Sky's eyes were filled with anger. He threw out a punch, and his fist was unparalleled. It was extremely ferocious and overbearing as it suddenly collided with the time compass. Boom! The time compass was sent flying by the Burning Heaven Saint King, but it also easily broke through his fist imprint, annihilated the streaks of Burning Heaven true flames, and shattered his arm, turning it into a bloody mist. Jinsei's eyes were incomparably cold. She used all her strength to activate the yin-yang taichi diagram to trap the Burning Sky Saint King. The surrounding void shook. Every time the Burning Sky Saint King violently exploded, her face paled a little. The Burning Sky Saint King, who was trapped in the yin-yang taichi diagram, also began to be injured. He suffered heavy injuries, and Jinsei's power was also rapidly depleted. The two of them were in a stalemate. The most important thing now was to see which of the two of them would be unable to hold on. The surrounding people also saw the current state of Jinsei and the Burning Sky Saint King, and all of them had different expressions in their eyes. Brother Hu, did Giant Axe really guess correctly? Are they really going to end up with both sides suffering? The Purple Thunder young master's eyes lit up as he slowly said. The Taichi diagram has its own space inside the extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Even the Burning Sky Saint King would find it difficult to escape without special means. If that woman can kill the Burning Sky Saint King, then we can act according to the situation. Hu Feng said with a burning gaze. Brother Hu, I think there are some blind people who want to make a move on that woman. Giant Axe's eyes flashed. He saw that there were some people in the distance who were ready to make a move. Their eyes were filled with greed and passion. It was obvious that they were blinded by the treasure, and wanted to take the opportunity to make a move on Jinsei. How stupid! If we release the Burning Sky Saint King at this time, we will all die under the rage of the Burning Sky Saint King. We have to think of a way to protect that woman. Hu Feng suddenly sneered. Brother Hu is right. These people don't know what's good for them. If they want to deal with that woman, they have to try my Giant Axe first. Giant Axe said ferociously. The huge mountain-splitting axe in his hand flickered with a sharp light. Runes intertwined and rose like lightning, containing an incomparably terrifying energy fluctuation. Whoosh! Finally, someone couldn't hold it in anymore. It was an old man with a goatee. He looked very wretched, but he had the cultivation of a saint. He wanted to quietly approach Jinsei like a ghost. Crack! Killing intent flashed in Giant Axe's eyes. In an instant, the huge mountain-splitting axe soared into the sky and expanded to tens of thousands of feet. It suddenly slashed down at the old man with the goatee. Giant Axe, you dare to block me? The old man with the goatee obviously knew Giant Axe. When he saw Giant Axe attacking him, he couldn't help but roar in exasperation. I'm not only going to block you, I'm going to kill you. Giant Axe's eyes were filled with disdain. The huge mountain-splitting axe contained the black and yellow chi, heavy and ancient. The blade of the axe flashed with a cold light as it chopped down with great force, as if it wanted to split the world apart. Madman! You're really a madman. Chapter 2386. Whoosh. The old man with the goatee knew that the battle prowess of the giant axe was incomparably terrifying, so he didn't dare to take it head-on. However, he had extreme speed, and in an instant he turned into countless afterimages, shooting in all directions, making it impossible to distinguish where his real body was. You want to take my giant axe away? What wishful thinking. Giant Axe's mouth revealed a sinister smile. The huge mountain-splitting axe emitted a vast domain. The axe light swept through the world like a storm, instantly turning the afterimages into dust. The goateed elder's real body appeared in front of Giant Axe in an instant. Rumble! The terrifying axe light fell from the sky, as if it was going to split the world. It contained an extremely terrifying power fluctuation, making it impossible for the goateed elder to dodge. Giant Axe, you! The elder with the goatee turned pale with fright as he shouted. Terrifying saintly might filled the air around him. His blood seemed to be burning as it spewed out blazing red light. He desperately struggled to break free. However, the terrifying axe light fell, covering everything and cutting off his voice. Puff! One of the goateed elder's arms was directly chopped off by the giant axe. Half of his body was about to explode. He looked extremely miserable. Giant Axe, I won't let you off! The goateed elder roared. He immediately wanted to teleport and escape. Crack! But at this moment, a blazing bolt of lightning containing endless destructive power descended from the sky, instantly striking the goateed elder's body. At this moment, he was distracted and didn't notice this lightning at all. He was directly hit and immediately trembled all over. Lightning intertwined, causing his skin to split open, and even emit bursts of burnt smell. Whoosh! Amidst the purple lightning that filled the sky, the purple thunder young master instantly appeared in front of the goateed elder. He waved the folding fan in his hand and immediately, a huge head flew into the sky. The purple thunder young master's expression was indifferent, but the purple lightning around him was like a coiling thunder dragon. It contained endless destructive power, and directly turned the goateed elder into dust. A saint had fallen at the hands of Giant Axe and the purple lightning. Everyone, don't be blinded by treasures. If you deal with that woman now and allow Saint King Fentian to escape, do you really think those two extreme Dao Emperor weapons will fall into your hands? Hu Feng also walked out with a smile and stood beside Huge Axe and Purple Thunder young master. The position of the three of them happened to protect Jin Se in the center, preventing anyone from sneaking up on her. Seeing Huge Axe and Mr. Purple Thunder kill a saint so easily, everyone was shocked and angry. They were shocked by the two's power, but they were also angry that they attacked. However, after hearing Hu Feng's words, everyone calmed down. Each and every one of them had different expressions on their faces. They understood that Great Axe and the other two's words were reasonable. If they were to attack now, the one who would benefit in the end would only be Burning Heaven Saint King. Moreover, Huge Axe, Purple Thunder Prince, and Hu Feng's reputation was not small. They had always been on the same side, and could be considered an extremely powerful force. The people present were not confident that they could defeat them, so they temporarily endured. Everyone, don't worry. The three of us only want one extreme Dao Emperor weapon, and the other one will be given to everyone. However, everyone should have heard of Burning Heaven Saint King's fierce name. If he defeats that woman, I'm afraid that we... Hu Feng's eyes flashed as he said with a hint of bewitchment. Everyone's expression changed slightly, and the way they looked at Burning Heaven Saint King also changed a little. Hu Feng, Huge Axe, and Purple Thunder Prince secretly looked at each other, and they also felt a little more confident. Hu Feng did not expect that these few words could change everyone's minds, but it was enough to plant a seed of doubt in their hearts. The Heaven Prison Realm was a huge cage, and everyone here was extremely vicious. None of them were good, so naturally, it was impossible for them to trust each other. Although Burning Heaven Saint King's strength was unparalleled, there were always people who hoped to replace him. If Burning Heaven Saint King was seriously injured, there would be many people here who would be happy to hit him when he was down. With Huge Axe, Purple Thunder Prince, and Hu Feng's protection, Everyone knew that they could not attack Jinsei and temporarily calm down. However, the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram was surging with undercurrents. Rumble. Endless laws of the great Tao intertwined, and streaks of lightning rose. Chaotic mist intertwined, forming all kinds of mysterious scenes. It was like a chaotic space-time storm that wanted to destroy everything. Burning Heaven's Saint King was trapped in the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram, and could only passively defend. He had even begun to fall into a disadvantageous position, surrounded by the endless law storm. In addition, the time compass was activated from time to time. Burning Heaven's Saint King also suffered heavy injuries, and his heart was incomparably sullen. However, the extreme Tao Emperor weapon was incomparably sturdy, and the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram contained a perfect and balanced yin-yang realm. It was extremely difficult to escape from it. Although Burning Heaven's Saint King attacked with his full strength, he did not break the spatial barrier of the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. Instead, he suffered heavy injuries because of it. Crack. Yin and yang intertwined, like a divine chain of order, and instantly wrapped around Burning Heaven's Saint King's body. It was incomparably sturdy, and he could not break free for a moment. The time compass rolled down from the sky, containing an extremely terrifying energy fluctuation, and directly blasted on Burning Heaven's Saint King's head. Boom. This time, Burning Heaven's Saint King was unable to resist the power of the time compass. His head suddenly exploded, and blood mist filled the air. The law swept in all directions like a storm, causing Burning Heaven's Saint King's entire body to tremble violently. He had suffered an unimaginable injury. The vast life source in Burning Heaven's Saint King's body surged, and in an instant his body regrew. An incomparably terrifying energy erupted, and he broke free from the yin and yang qi, and directly flew out. Cough cough. You have completely infuriated me. Burning Heaven's Saint King said slowly as he coughed up blood, and looked at the void. There was a trace of cold killing intent in his eyes. Buzz. The light in his palm was dazzling, and the black jade talisman floated out. In an instant, it shone brightly in the void. Endless great path laws intertwined, and the void inside the yin-yang taiji diagram began to tremble violently. Open for me. Burning Heaven's Saint King's eyes revealed a trace of pain as he shouted. The black jade talisman exploded in the void, and the terrifying and chaotic power of law seemed to have opened a space-time tunnel, causing cracks to appear in the void inside the yin-yang tai chi diagram. Burning Heaven's Saint King took the opportunity to fly out of the yin-yang tai chi diagram space. Chapter 2387. Rumble. The sky seemed to have directly split open, spewing out endless bright light. The Burning Heaven's Saint King broke free from the yin-yang tai chi diagram, and his entire body emitted a ferocious aura fluctuation. His eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Although he didn't seem to be in a good state, there were several bone-deep wounds on his body. His flesh was badly mangled, as if he had been severely injured. However, it stimulated the fierceness in his heart. Very good. Little girl, I didn't expect you to be able to injure me to this extent. You can be proud. In return, I won't let you die so easily. Saint King Burning Heaven stared at Jinsei and said, whoosh. At this moment, the majestic life source in the heavenly prison blood sun was completely devoured by Ling Xiao. The time compass released a bright light, and was about to send Ling Xiao into the space within the time compass. Big brother Ling Xiao, I'll take you home. Jinsei didn't even look at Saint King Burning Heaven. Her gaze followed Ling Xiao closely, and a warm smile appeared on her lips. She could feel that the life source in Ling Xiao's body was extremely majestic, and it was changing in a good direction. It wouldn't be long before he could wake up. The reason why Jinsei fought with Saint King Burning Heaven before was to buy time for Ling Xiao. Now that Ling Xiao had woken up, she naturally didn't need to waste time with Saint King Burning Heaven. Whoosh. Jinsei didn't care that Saint King Burning Heaven had broken out. She was about to put away the yin-yang tai chi diagram and time compass and leave. You want to leave? The Burning Heaven Saint King didn't expect that Jinsei would ignore him like this, and even want to leave. Suddenly, the killing intent in his eyes became more and more intense. The blazing flame in his palm rose up, and in an instant, a huge palm pressed down on Jinsei. At the same time, The Vajra bracelet flew out of Saint King Burning Heaven's palm and smashed down on Ling Xiao. Saint King Burning Heaven could see that Ling Xiao was extremely important to Jin Se, so he naturally had to save him. No matter what, he couldn't let Jin Se take Ling Xiao away. Get lost! Jin Se's eyes were cold as she scolded. Her slender hand slapped the air, and the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram appeared in her palm. It transformed into Yin and Yang Qi, and collided with the flaming palm print. Rumble! The flames in the void exploded, and the flaming palm was directly shattered. Jin Se's face also became slightly pale. The time compass spun in the air, emitting a vast time domain. It wanted to confine the bracelet and protect Ling Xiao. Boom! The Vajra bracelet and the chrono compass collided. In an instant, an incomparably bright light exploded, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. But right at this moment, a sudden change occurred. Another golden shadow flew out of the King Kong bracelet. It broke through the time zone at an extremely fast speed and smashed into Ling Xiao. As for the diamond bracelet that collided with the time compass, it shattered like a flower in the mirror and the moon in the water. Not good. Jin Se's face changed. She did not expect Saint King Fentian to be so cunning. His methods were strange and unpredictable, and it was impossible to guard against. Although the Vajra bracelet was not an Apex Emperor weapon, it was Saint King Fentian's natal treasure. Its power was not inferior to a Boundary Emperor weapon, but the Vajra bracelet was too fast. Before Jin Se could react, it had already arrived in front of Ling Xiao. Saint King Fentian's lips curled into a cold smile. He was a Saint King, the city lord of Fentian's sacred city, but he had been trapped in the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram by Jin Se. It was a great humiliation. If he could kill Ling Xiao now, he would be able to vent his anger. However, Saint King Fentian's cold smile instantly froze. His face was filled with disbelief and shock. When the Vajra bracelet flew in front of Ling Xiao, rays of purple light came out of Ling Xiao's body. They were like tentacles that wrapped around the Vajra bracelet in an instant. Furthermore, they wiped away Saint King Fentian's natal spirit blood on the Vajra bracelet and pulled it into Ling Xiao's body. Just like that, the Vajra bracelet was swallowed by Ling Xiao. Cough cough. How is this possible? A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of Burning Heaven Saint King's mouth. His face also paled a little, and his eyes were filled with bewilderment. The Vajra bracelet was Saint King Fentian's natal treasure. After it was swallowed by Ling Xiao, it caused him to suffer a severe backlash. He could not believe what he had just seen. Whoosh! Jin Se's eyes revealed a trace of joy. No matter what, brother Ling Xiao was not injured. That was enough. Ling Xiao was sucked into the space within the time compass. Jin Se also leaped up and quickly teleported into the distance. None of you can leave. Burning Heaven Prison, World Destroyer Hand. The Burning Heaven Saint King roared angrily, his eyes filled with anger and madness. Rumble! Endless blazing flame spewed out from his body. The Burning Heaven Prison was like a sea of fire. In an instant, it spread out in all directions. An ancient and mysterious aura slowly emerged. In the endless sea of fire, it was as if an ancient and terrifying hell had appeared. It was shrouded in endless flames. Countless creatures wailed. A golden palm stretched out from it and slammed toward Jin Se. Not good. It's the World Destroyer Hand. Retreat. Hu Feng's face changed drastically. He immediately shouted and quickly teleported into the distance. The Purple Thunder Young Master and Giant Axe also sensed the energy fluctuation that caused their hearts to tremble. They didn't even think about it before following Hu Feng at an extremely fast speed. However, some people were not as lucky as them, especially the experts below the Saint Realm. Even if they sensed the danger, they did not have enough speed to escape. In an instant, they were engulfed by the Burning Heaven True Flame and burned directly. They let out an incomparably miserable cry as they completely turned into a part of the Burning Heaven Prison. Even some saints who reacted a little slower were burned by the Burning Heaven Prison. They had to pay a great price to escape, and they were severely injured. Even the sky was dyed a pure gold color. Endless flames filled the air, emitting an aura that could destroy the world. The Burning Heaven Prison is said to be the strongest dharma of Saint King Fentian. Who knows how many saints and great saints have been buried? especially that world destroyer hand. Legend has it that it once killed a Saint King. Can that woman escape? The Purple Thunder Prince said slowly. His eyes were full of fear. Chapter 2388. Boom. The golden palm was ancient and mysterious. Runes and great Tao laws were intertwined on it. Wherever it passed, the void was destroyed and time was distorted. It was as if everything was burned by the true burning flame. This was the World Destroyer palm. It was the strongest attack that the Burning Sky Saint King could unleash with the Burning Sky Prison Suppression Dharma Idol. Once the World Destroyer palm was unleashed, Jinsei felt a fatal threat. If she could not block this attack, she would be completely annihilated. Crack! Jinsei floated in the void. Two black and white bolts of lightning appeared around her. They intertwined with each other and contained a mysterious energy fluctuation. The corner of her mouth moved slightly as she softly chanted scriptures. Her body exuded a vast and mysterious energy fluctuation, causing the surrounding sky to shake. The huge yin-yang tai chi diagram suddenly expanded in the void. It intertwined with Tao and reason. It was like a huge yin-yang barrier that blocked behind Jinsei. Boom! The golden palm slammed onto the yin-yang tai chi diagram. Endless divine light exploded. The yin-yang tai chi diagram spun rapidly. The yin-yang chi flowed and quickly disintegrated the power of the World Destroyer palm. However, the World Destroyer palm was too terrifying. In addition, Jinsei could not fully activate the power of the yin-yang tai chi diagram. As a result, although the yin-yang tai chi diagram's power was weakened by more than half, a part of it still passed through the yin-yang tai chi diagram and entered Jinsei's body. Puff! Jinsei suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face was as pale as paper. Her internal organs were trembling violently as if they were completely shattered. She staggered and suffered an unimaginable injury. Jinsei resisted the urge to faint. She activated the last of her power. Immediately, the yin-yang tai chi diagram wrapped around Jinsei. She turned into a ray of light and disappeared before everyone's eyes. Damn it! The Burning Sky Saint King's face was ugly. He did not expect Jinsei to escape. He had unleashed the Burning Sky Prison Suppression Dharma Idol and the World Destroyer palm. It was a huge burden for him. Now that Jinsei had escaped, he did not have the strength to continue chasing. However, he must get the two extreme Tao Emperor weapons on Jinsei. Someone from the Supreme Tao Palace? If I'm not wrong, that diagram Emperor weapon must be the yin-yang tai chi diagram. As for that compass, it looks like the legendary compass of time. Burning Heaven Saint King's eyes flickered as he thought to himself. That woman escaped. Brother Hu, Brother Z, can we? Hugh Jax eagerly transmitted his voice to Hu Feng and young Master Purple Thunder. That's right. That woman has been severely injured. Perhaps this is our chance. With Brother Hu, a Feng Shui Grandmaster, perhaps we can find that woman before anyone else. The Purple Thunder young master said with excitement. Let's go. Hu Feng secretly transmitted his voice. Taking advantage of the chaos, the three of them quietly left the area and chased after Jinsei. Soon, a few powerful figures appeared in the sky and bowed respectfully to Saint King Fentian in the sky. Your Majesty, please forgive me for being late. Those figures were all Saint Rankers, the subordinates of the Burning Heaven Saint King. At this moment, they had finally rushed over from the Burning Heaven Saint City. It's all right. Even if you came early, it would be useless. Now issue a search order to the entire Heaven Prison realm. Find this woman at all costs. Anyone who can provide information or find her whereabouts will be heavily rewarded. Saint King Fentian said with a faint light in his eyes. Your Majesty, what if that woman leaves the Heaven Prison realm? A middle-aged saint in black armor asked hesitantly. She can't leave. Not to mention that she is severely injured and can't escape at all. Even if she recovers her strength, how can she leave the Heaven Prison realm so easily? I will activate the Burning Heaven Emperor array. If she dares to leave by force, she will not be able to hide from my senses. Saint King Fentian sneered. Yes. Many saints nodded in response. Saint King Fentian was right. The Heaven Prison realm itself was a huge prison. The people in the Heaven Prison realm had no way to leave this place. Even if Saint King Funtian was a Saint King realm expert, it was impossible for him to leave this place. The living beings in the Heaven Prison realm had been infected with the curse of the Heaven Prison realm. Once they left the Heaven Prison realm, they would encounter misfortune, or suffer from chi deviation, or be punished by the heavenly Tao and die without a burial place. Although Jinsei was an outsider, and had an extreme Tao Emperor weapon in her hand, there was hope for her to break through the world barrier of the Heaven Prison realm and leave. But now that she was severely injured, there was no way for her to leave. Soon, under the command of Saint King Funtian, the entire Saint City of Funtian began to operate at full strength. Countless experts began to spread out to search for Jinsei's whereabouts. The news of this battle spread throughout the entire Heavenly Prison realm. The news of the appearance of the extreme Tao Emperor weapon shocked the other 9 Saint cities. Not only the burning Heaven Saint City, but the other 9 Saint cities also began to set up an inescapable net to capture Jinsei. The entire Heaven Prison domain seemed to be in the midst of a storm. Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Young Master, and Giant Axe followed Jinsei's trail. They crossed thousands of miles, walked through endless mountains and forests, and came to the endless sea in the extreme north of the Heaven Prison realm. The extreme North Sea region was located in the north of the Heaven Prison realm. It was cold all year round. The sea was frozen for thousands of miles. Some people even built ice and snow giant cities and lived in them. Brother Hu, are you sure it's in this direction? We have been chasing for a few days and found nothing. Giant Axe asked doubtfully. That's right. That woman should have come to the extreme North Sea region. Although she hid her aura along the way, the extreme Tao Emperor weapon has a deep connection with the Tao of heaven and earth. She can hide it from others but not me. Hu Feng smiled confidently. We believe in Brother Hu. If we can find that woman, the 2 extreme Tao Emperor weapons will fall into our hands. Purple Thunder Young Master said excitedly. In the face of the extreme Tao Emperor weapons, let alone them, even the Saint Kings were greedy and covetous. 2 extreme Tao Emperor weapons were enough to change the situation of the entire Heaven Prison realm. The 3 of them were ambitious. Now that they saw a strong hope, they naturally did not want to miss it. Found it. She should be in that mountain. Hu Feng's eyes suddenly flashed as he pointed at a mountain in front of them and said. It was a mountain that was hundreds of thousands of feet tall. It was like a heavenly sword that pierced through the sky. It was extremely steep and covered in white snow. It looked extremely majestic and imposing. This is the North Pole Mountain, the highest mountain in the extreme North Sea region. It is extremely sturdy. That woman was actually hiding here? Let's go. Purple Thunder Young Master said in surprise. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The 3 of them turned into 3 long rainbows and shot towards the North Pole Mountain. Chapter 2389. The North Pole Mountain towered into the clouds. At the peak of the North Pole Mountain, a few ancient pine trees stood proudly, with a few strange rocks covering them. At the center of the mountain was a spring that was flowing. The North Pole Mountain was extremely cold. Any expert below the Saint Realm would be frozen into an ice sculpture in an instant. There were endless astral winds howling all year round, forming a barrier that prevented any living beings from coming here. Although the spring water was only a few meters in size, it seemed to be boiling. Waves of mist rose from it, forming a very sharp contrast with the cold outside. At this moment, Jinsei was sitting cross-legged in the spring. The cold air from the outside and the hot air from the spring intertwined and flowed into her mouth and nose. Then it spread to the surroundings, forming an extremely mysterious rhythm. There seemed to be an extremely mysterious energy in the spring that was healing Jinsei. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. However, at this moment, 3 air-piercing sounds could be heard. In an instant, 3 figures pierced through the astral wind barrier and arrived at the peak of the North Pole Mountain. That girl is really here. An extremely surprised voice could be heard. The 3 figures were Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Prince and Huge Axe. You're here for me? Jinsei slowly raised her head and looked at the 3 people in front of her. Her expression was extremely calm, as if she was not surprised at all. That's right. Miss, we know that you're severely injured now, so don't even think about resisting. However, we promise that as long as you hand over the 2 extreme Dao Monarch weapons, we'll let you leave this place. What do you think? Purple Thunder Prince gently waved his folding fan and said with a smile. He was like an elegant prince in the chaotic world. However, even though Purple Thunder Prince was experienced and knowledgeable, when he saw Jinsei, he could not help but be amazed. He did not expect that there would be such a perfect girl in this world. Jinsei had a graceful temperament that was pure and holy. It made people respect her, but they did not dare to have any thoughts of blasphemy. Miss, we know that you want to use the heavenly prison Blood Sun to save that man, right? Now that you've achieved your goal, although the extreme Dao Monarch weapon is good, it's just a worldly possession. Why don't you give it to us 3 brothers? We can also help you fend off the strong enemies. You might not know this, but the Heaven Prison realm has already been surrounded. The moment you appear, the 10 Saint Kings will make their move on you. Hu Feng also said with a faint smile, appearing refined and courteous, making it difficult for others to have a bad impression of him. Do you want an extreme Dao Emperor weapon? No problem. As long as you can take them away, the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram and time compass will be yours. Jinsei said indifferently, but there was a hint of mockery in her eyes. Rumble. As soon as she finished speaking, the world turned upside down, and the sun and moon changed. The surrounding scene instantly became illusory, as if there were yin and yang qi flowing, containing an incomparably cold killing intent. The time compass silently appeared above Hu Feng and the other 2. The terrifying power of time intertwined, as if it could instantly turn the 3 of them into dust. What? Hu Feng, young Master Purple Thunder, and Huge Axe's expressions changed drastically. They felt a fatal killing intent coming from the yin and yang qi in the surroundings, and from the time compass above their heads. It made their hearts tremble, and a chill ran down their backs. It was as if they would immediately die without a burial place if they made any strange movements. This is the internal space of the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram? Weren't you severely injured by Saint King Fentian? How can you use these 2 extreme Dao Monarch weapons? Hu Feng's mouth was filled with bitterness as he said slowly. They had miscalculated. They originally wanted to be the Oriole behind, but they did not expect to be set up. Jinsei actually still had the strength to fight. Saint King Fentian? Who does he think he is? If not for my big brother Ling Xiao, I would have killed him directly. What do the 3 of you have to say now? Jinsei's eyes flashed sharply. Although her voice was calm, there was an indescribable domineering and majestic aura exuding from it. Now that things have come to this, the 3 of us have accepted our fate. If you want to kill us or torture us, please do as you wish. Giant Axe said in a muffled voice, appearing to be very stubborn. Although the 3 of them were supreme experts in the Saint Realm, they had no chance of winning against 2 extreme Dao Monarch weapons. Previously, they thought that Jinsei would not be able to use the extreme Dao Monarch weapons again, but now it seemed that they had miscalculated. You guys covet my extreme Dao Monarch weapons, and I do want to kill you guys. But, Jinsei said faintly. But what? Hu Feng could not help but ask. His Purple Thunder young masters and Giant Axe's eyes lit up. They could see the hope of survival, and they naturally did not want to die like this. But even if I kill you guys, it will be difficult for me to escape from the Heaven Prison realm. So I need you guys to bring me out of the Heaven Prison realm, but I am worried about the 3 of you. Jinsei said slowly. You are right. Even if you kill us, you will not be able to leave the Heaven Prison realm. Hu Feng nodded, knowing that Jinsei's words made sense. Now that the Heaven Prison Court has been set up by the 10 great saint cities, it would be extremely difficult for Jinsei to leave even if she wanted to. So I need you guys to give me a reason not to kill you, Jinsei said coldly. Miss, the 3 of us can swear to the Heavenly Dao that we will never covet your extreme Dao Monarch weapons again. And we will escort you out of the Heaven Prison realm. What do you think? Hu Feng, Purple Thunder young master and Giant Axe looked at each other, and finally Hu Feng said slowly. Not enough. I don't believe in the Heavenly Dao oath. How about this? You guys give me a natal primordial spirit, and after I leave the Heaven Prison realm safely, I will let you guys go. What do you think? Jinsei said. Natal primordial spirit? Impossible. If we give you our natal primordial spirit, our lives will be in your hands, and by then, won't we be at your mercy? Giant Axe's face immediately changed, and he suppressed the anger in his heart and said, "Don't tell me you think you're not at my mercy now." Jinsei sneered and said. Giant Axe was immediately speechless. Hufeng and Purple Thunder Young Master also smiled bitterly. Jinsei was right, this was probably their best choice. The three of them secretly communicated for a while, and finally reached a consensus. "All right, miss, we are willing to give you our natal primordial spirits," Hufeng said with a bitter smile. Buzz. The glabella of the three of them emitted a dazzling light, and a natal primordial spirit flew out from each of them, heading towards Jinsei. Under the threat of the yin-yang tai chi diagram and time compass, the three of them did not dare to have any evil thoughts. Whoosh! Jinsei waved her slender hand, and suddenly, the three natal primordial spirits flew directly into Jinsei's sea of consciousness, and merged with her primordial spirit. Hufeng, Purple Thunder Young Master and Giant Axe all felt their primordial spirits tremble, and their primordial spirits formed a mysterious connection with Jinsei, so they did not dare to have the slightest thought of resisting Jinsei, and they could not even curse her. It was as if Jinsei could kill them with just a thought. "No. You are lying to us." Chapter 2390. Boom. He punched out, and his fist print was fierce and domineering. It instantly shattered the time compass above his head. Vast saint aura gushed out from his body, and the chaotic laws of yin and yang around him disappeared. They appeared on the North Pole Mountain again. Strong winds were still howling around them, and Jinsei was still sitting in the spring in front of them. Bastard. Was that a smoke screen? We were fooled by a smoke screen? The faces of the Purple Thunder Young Master and Huge Axe instantly turned ugly. How could they not understand at this point? The so-called yin-yang tai chi diagram, the so-called time compass, they were all fake. Jinsei didn't even activate the power of these two extreme monarch weapons. Everything was Jinsei's trick. Prince Purple Thunder and Huge Axe looked at Jinsei with unkind eyes. Although Hufeng was furious, he could not help but feel a chill in his heart when he saw Jinsei's faint smile. He immediately knelt down in front of Jinsei. Hufeng greets Master. So what if Jinsei lied to them? They had already handed over their origin spirits. Their lives were now in Jinsei's hands. If they questioned Jinsei in anger, it was tantamount to courting death. Purple Thunder Prince and Giant Axe saw Hufeng's actions and thought of the same thing. Their eyes dimmed and they knelt down in front of Jinsei. Purple Thunder greets Master. Giant Axe greets Master. Jinsei's gaze contained an indescribable pressure. She paused on Hufeng, Purple Thunder Prince and Giant Axe for a moment. She only looked away when their backs were drenched in sweat, and their hearts were filled with anxiety. "Very good. The three of you are smart. Whether I lied to you or not, your lives are now in my hands. You may leave now. Guard me at the foot of the North Pole Mountain. I need to heal myself," Jinsei said faintly. Yes. Hufeng, Purple Thunder Prince and Giant Axe felt as if they had been pardoned. They quickly bowed respectfully and headed down the North Pole Mountain. Puff. As soon as Hufeng and the other two left, Jinsei's face immediately became incomparably pale. She directly spat out a mouthful of blood, dyeing the spring water in front of her red. Just now, Jinsei forcefully pulled on the yin-yang tai chi diagram, and a trace of power from the time compass to create that illusion, forcing Hufeng and the other two to hand over their primordial spirits. She was also gambling and she won. And Jinsei's current state was very bad. The battle with Burning Heaven Saint King, especially the last world exterminating palm, had caused her to suffer heavy injuries. If it wasn't for the yin-yang tai chi diagram that had sensed the intersection of yin and yang in the North Pole Mountain, allowing her to absorb a portion of the yin and yang energy and recover some of her vitality, she wouldn't have been able to wield the power of the two extreme Dao Monarch weapons. Brother Ling Xiao, don't worry, Jinsei will be able to bring you home very soon. Jinsei looked at the still sleeping Ling Xiao in the time compass, and a gentle smile appeared on her face. Then, she continued to sit cross-legged in the spring, and began to recover. The North Pole Mountain was the center of the far North Sea. This place gathered the endless cold energy of the extreme North Sea region. It was originally a place of extreme yin, but after hundreds of millions of years of evolution, extreme yin gave birth to yang. That was why there was a trace of vitality. At the peak of the North Pole Mountain, yin and yang converged, forming this yin-yang sacred spring. It was the accumulation of the extreme North Sea region for hundreds of millions of years. However, because there were few traces of people, it was not discovered by anyone. Now the yin-yang sacred spring had become the best healing treasure for Jinsei. As Jinsei continued to refine the yin and yang energy within it, her injuries began to gradually improve. The yin-yang sacred spring was a healing treasure. In addition, Jinsei had the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram, an extreme Dao monarch weapon. Her injuries were recovering very quickly. The yin-yang sacred spring contained boundless yin and yang energy. It was the pure energy that had been accumulated in the extreme North Sea region for countless years. Now that it was being refined by Jinsei, not only did her injuries heal quickly, but her cultivation also began to improve by leaps and bounds. As the saying goes, destruction is followed by reconstruction. This time, Jinsei's injuries had become Jinsei's opportunity and fortune. Under the nourishment of the yin-yang sacred spring, Jinsei's understanding of the great Tao of yin and yang became deeper and deeper. Her cultivation also began to climb towards the late stage of the sage realm. A few days later, when Jinsei opened her eyes, 2 rays of yin and yang divine light shot out, causing the void to tremble slightly. She had completely refined the yin-yang sacred spring, and Jinsei's cultivation had completely stabilized at the late stage of the sage realm. She was only a step away from the great circle. Brother Ling Xiao. Jinsei did not check on the changes in her body. However, she saw that Ling Xiao in the time compass had undergone some changes. Whoosh! Jinsei also turned into a ray of light and entered the time compass. Ling Xiao in the time compass was completely enveloped by purple light. The great Tao laws intertwined and covered his entire body. The dense great Tao laws formed his meridians and blood vessels, causing his physical body to become a part of the great Tao laws. Ling Xiao's physical body grew stronger and stronger, catching Jinsei off guard. She could sense that Ling Xiao's physical body was undergoing a strange change. It was becoming stronger and stronger. This change was naturally excellent, but Jinsei could sense that Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was still very weak. Compared to his physical body, it was like comparing a candle to the sun. They could not be compared at all. If this trend continued, it would not be long before the same situation of burning his life essence would occur again. This situation made Jinsei feel that it was extremely troublesome. She did not know how strong Ling Xiao's physical body would become, but if this continued, it would be a crisis for Ling Xiao. Could it be that we have to dual cultivate again? Jinsei's cheeks flushed red, revealing an extremely shy expression. She had the great Tao body, and her yin and yang were perfectly balanced. Ling Xiao's current state was a manifestation of the imbalance of yin and yang. Dual cultivation could strengthen Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, neutralizing the exuberant yang energy in his body, and forming the power of yin to nourish Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. This was indeed the best method. Jinsei did not hesitate. Her life had long been linked to Ling Xiao's. After so many things had happened together, they had come to view each other as the most important person in their lives. Jinsei slowly took off her clothes and gently hugged Ling Xiao. She could feel that Ling Xiao's chest was extremely sturdy, and his heartbeat was strong. His life force was unbelievably strong. Although he had not yet awakened, it was only a matter of time. When Ling Xiao's primordial spirit gradually recovered and could control his freakishly powerful body, he would wake up. Chapter 2391. Boom. In the void, a huge axe light fell from the sky. It contained a terrifying energy fluctuation and directly split a middle-aged man in a black robe in half. Immediately after that, the purple lightning descended from the sky, shattering his flesh and origin spirit into pieces, causing his soul to disperse and perish. Brother Purple, this is the 3rd wave of people we have killed. Although there are few people in the extreme North Sea region, the 10 great sacred cities are determined to capture Master. I'm afraid this is not a place to stay for long. It has been 3 months. Why hasn't Master come out of seclusion? Giant Axe fell from the sky and put away the huge axe in his hand and said worriedly, I don't know. Master only asked us to continue guarding the North Pole Mountain. She's still recovering. After all, she was severely injured by Saint King Fentian. But now, it seems like we can't stay here for long. Hufeng also nodded as he spoke with a somewhat solemn gaze. Hufeng, Purple Thunder Prince, and Giant Axe had been guarding the North Pole Mountain for 3 months. In these 3 months, although there were few people in the extreme North Sea region, there were still 3 waves of experts who came here. However, they were all killed by them one by one. They also felt a sense of crisis in their hearts. They did not know when the crisis would come. They finally understood the madness of the 10 great sacred cities. After all, Jinsei had 2 extreme Dao Monarch weapons. Whoever could obtain these 2 extreme Dao Monarch weapons would be able to obtain the Great Monarch's inheritance. They might even be able to unify the Heavenly Prison Court, break the curse of the Heavenly Prison Court, and leave this place. This was a temptation that no one could bear. Let's wait a little longer. Master might come out of seclusion soon. Purple Thunder Prince said slowly. Although the 3 of them were filled with worry, their lives were now closely related to Jinsei. So no matter what, they had to protect Jinsei's safety. Hufeng, Mr. Purple Thunder, and Huge Axe waited at the foot of the North Pole Mountain for another month. During this time, 3 more groups of people came to search for them. Although they were all killed silently, the 3 of them felt their hearts become heavier and heavier. The North Pole Mountain was no longer safe. They could only hope that Jinsei would come out of seclusion soon. But on this day, a few uninvited guests came to the North Pole Mountain. Hufeng, Purple Thunder, Huge Axe, we really are enemies on a narrow road. I didn't expect you to hide in the extreme North Sea. How do you want to die? A voice filled with ridicule rang out, causing Hufeng, Purple Thunder Prince and Huge Axe's expressions to change. Young Master Wuxia, why are you here? A hint of fear appeared in Hufeng's eyes. A handsome young man in embroidered robes appeared before the 3 of them. He had an ambiguous smile on his face, and his eyes flickered with cold killing intent. His cultivation wasn't very high. He was only a 9th Revolution half-saint. However, the 2 old men behind him, one fat and one thin, emitted an unfathomable aura fluctuation, causing Hufeng and the other 2 to be incomparably fearful. Wuxia was the city lord of the holy city of Enemo, the son of Holy King Enemo. Because of a treasure hunt in a secret realm, he had become enemies with Hufeng and the other 2. Wuxia was vengeful. He wanted to find trouble with Hufeng and the other 2 several times, but they managed to avoid him. He didn't expect to meet them under the North Pole Mountain. The 2 old men behind Wuxia, one fat and one thin, were Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo. They were both great saint experts and were sent by Saint King Enemo to protect Wuxia. Hufeng and the other 2 weren't fearful of Wuxia, but Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo. The 3 of them were only saints. Naturally, they weren't a match for 2 great saints. Don't you know why I'm here? You've already killed a few of my subordinates and destroyed their corpses. If I'm not wrong, the 3 of you have already pledged allegiance to the woman in the red dress. And she is in the North Pole Mountain, right? Wuxia smiled coldly. Divine light flowed in his eyes. Finally, his gaze fell on the North Pole Mountain, causing Hufeng and the other 2's hearts to sink. Wuxia had indeed discovered that something was wrong here. Young Master Wuxia, we don't know what you're talking about. We 3 brothers are cultivating in the North Pole Mountain. We don't know who the woman in the red dress is. Moreover, we didn't kill your subordinates. Hufeng shook his head. His expression was very calm. Although the 3 of them knew that something was wrong, they couldn't rule out the possibility that Wuxia was lying to them. Therefore, they couldn't admit it no matter what. Moreover, those people were all killed by the Purple Thunder Young Master's Purple Divine Lightning. They didn't believe that Wuxia could find any evidence. You guys are really stubborn. Fine, I'll let you guys go for now. When I find the woman in the red dress, I'll settle the score with you guys. Wuxia sneered. He immediately leaped up and was about to fly towards the North Pole Mountain. Wait! The Purple Thunder Young Master was anxious. He couldn't help but shout and block Wuxia. What? You dare to block me? In Wuxia's eyes revealed a trace of ferocity. Young Master Wuxia, we three brothers have offended you. But there is an extremely important heavenly treasure in the North Pole Mountain that is about to mature. We can't be disturbed. Young Master Wuxia, please wait for a moment. Don't step into the North Pole Mountain for the time being. Hu Feng gritted his teeth. Jinsei was still cultivating in seclusion. No matter what, they couldn't let In Wuxia go up the mountain. Their lives were linked to Jinsei's. Even if In Wuxia was a big threat, they could only force their way in. Ah, what a clumsy excuse. I think the woman in the red dress is in the North Pole Mountain. Fat uncle, skinny uncle, since they want to die, let's grant them their wish. In Wuxia laughed out loud, his eyes filled with undisguised mockery. Rumble. As soon as his voice fell, Fat Monk and Skinny Monk instantly attacked. A vast saint aura burst out. The blood energy around the Fat Monk's body was overflowing. Although he seemed to be smiling, his entire body was emitting a kind of extreme yang power. A huge palm strike swept across the sky. It emitted blazing flames and started to burn fiercely. Skinny Monk's face was incomparably cold. His body exuded an extremely cold aura. His palm turned into a claw and grabbed at the heads of Hu Feng and the others. Kill! Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Young Master, and Giant Axe looked at each other. They gritted their teeth and braced themselves to attack. Rumble! The earth and mountains around the North Pole Mountain began to tremble slightly, as if an earth dragon had turned over. Terrifying fluctuations filled the air, and the sky in all directions shook. The vast Great Path laws directly spread out, and at the same time, oppress Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo. Myriad Dragon Feng Shui Array. Chapter 2392. Hu Feng was a Feng Shui Grandmaster. Although Feng Shui was ultimately the comprehension of the great Tao of heaven and earth, a Feng Shui Grandmaster could integrate the power of heaven and earth and use the mountains and rivers as a guide to cast a powerful Feng Shui formation. Erupting with extremely powerful power, Hu Feng had already communicated with tens of thousands of mountains within a radius of millions of miles. With the North Pole Mountain as the center, he laid out the myriad dragon Feng Shui formation. Every mountain contained a dragon vein. At the same time, they activated over 10,000 dragon veins, erupting with destructive power. This made Hu Feng the most terrifying of the three of them. Roar! 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 Dragon roars shook the sky in all directions. The earth rolled, and the chi of heaven and earth surged. Those dragon veins transformed into dragon shapes, exuding an incomparably majestic dragon aura, and rushed toward Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo at the same time. Feng Shui formation? If you were a great saint, you might be able to cause us some trouble, but this level of Feng Shui formation is still too weak. Fat Tuchuo said with a smile. A huge flaming palm print fell from the sky and collided with the tens of thousands of dragon veins in an instant, stirring up a huge wave. Rumble! The tens of thousands of dragon veins seemed to be annihilated at the same time, directly blown up by Fat Tuchuo's palm. Xianyang Heavenly Palm? Hu Feng's expression did not change. He did not seem to be surprised that the tens of thousands of dragon veins were blown up by Fat Tuchuo's palm. Boom! Endless chi of heaven and earth surged in the myriad dragon Feng Shui formation. Mountain ranges seemed to appear in the sky. The dragon veins that were blown up by Fat Tuchuo were condensed again. This time, the tens of thousands of dragon veins increased tenfold, turning into 100,000 dragon veins. You have some skills. Thin Tuchuo's eyes flashed. His claw fell from the sky with incomparable sharpness, directly grabbing hundreds of dragon veins, and completely tearing them to pieces. Thin Tuchuo's Xianin Heavenly Claw was also incomparably overbearing. Those dragon veins were like paper in his hand, torn to shreds. But the myriad dragon Feng Shui formation was obviously not that simple. Those dragon veins would not completely disappear. After being smashed by Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo, they condensed again, and the number was increasing. They were densely packed, covering the sky, and constantly squeezing the space where Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo were. Kill! Huge Axe roared. He suddenly lifted up the huge mountain-splitting axe in his hand. The axe light was extremely swift and fierce. In the void, It suddenly expanded to tens of thousands of feet and chopped down towards Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo. Rumble. The folding fan in the purple thunder young master's hand rose into the air. It emitted a dazzling light in the void. The folding fan slowly opened up and a purple eye appeared on top of it. It emitted a purple beam of light that contained an overbearing destructive power. Hu Feng, Huge Axe, and Purple Thunder Prince all attacked at the same time. Although the three of them already had the cultivation of Sage Realm perfection, and were only one step away from Great Sage, they didn't dare to relax in the slightest when facing Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo. They unleashed their strongest battle power one after another. The light of a firefly dares to compete with the light of the moon? Wuxia's eyes flashed with a cold smile as he stood to the side, watching the battle coldly. In his opinion, Hu Feng and the other two were just putting up a stubborn resistance. The strength of Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo was unparalleled. It was not comparable to ordinary great saints. It was easy for them to deal with three mere saints. Rumble. The blood aura around Fat Tuchuo's body was monstrous. It turned into a red flame and burned fiercely. He shot out a palm and collided with the huge axe light in the void. A loud rumbling sound burst out, and the huge axe was directly sent flying. Thin Tuchuo grabbed the air. His sharp claws caught the blazing thunderbolt and tore it into pieces. He clashed with the Purple Thunder Prince. Suddenly, the Purple Thunder Prince staggered back as if he was struck by lightning. At this moment, the myriad dragon feng shui formation began to show its powerful side. The dragon veins intertwined like divine chains of order. In an instant, they traversed the void and locked Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo in it. The chains spread towards their limbs. The divine chains of order formed by the dragon veins were incomparably strong and fast as lightning. When Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo were fighting against Huge Axe and Purple Thunder Prince, they were immediately imprisoned when they were slightly distracted. Break! Fat Tuchuo's eyes flashed with murderous intent. The golden flame around his body burned. The divine chains of order formed by the dragon veins were shattered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Boom! His whole body soared into the sky and directly broke through the layers of the dragon veins blockade. He threw a punch at Hu Feng. A feng shui grandmaster? Interesting. Thin Tuchuo said with a somewhat hoarse voice. His sharp claws were like cast iron and steel. They tore apart the divine chains of order that sealed the surroundings. He then attacked Huge Axe and Purple Thunder Prince. Boom! Hu Feng's expression changed slightly. The strength of Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo was beyond his expectations. The myriad dragon feng shui formation only caused them a little trouble. It didn't seem to have any effect on the overall situation. Hu Feng controlled the vast mysterious yellow earth vein and condensed it into a huge mysterious yellow shield. It bloomed with a bright light, but it was blasted apart by Fat Tuchuo's punch. Hu Feng staggered back. His internal organs were violently shaken. Traces of blood flowed out of his mouth. Bang! Bang! Huge Axe and Purple Thunder Prince did their best to attack Thin Tuchuo, but they were instantly suppressed by him. The Mystic Een Heavenly Claw seemed to be able to pierce through everything. Not only did it break through Purple Thunder Prince's extreme purple thunder, it even sent Huge Axe's mountain-splitting axe flying. It left streaks of blood on their bodies. Under the suppression of Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo, Hu Feng and the other two's defeat was only a matter of time. At this moment, at the peak of the North Pole, in the space inside the chronocompass, Jinsei looked at Ling Xiao with a happy smile. After this period of dual cultivation, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit grew stronger and stronger. Although it still couldn't completely control his body, it was 10 times, no 100 times stronger than before. Ling Xiao's body also seemed to have completed that strange transformation. At this moment, the gorgeous and resplendent primordial violet qi completely merged into his body, becoming a part of his blood vessels, bones, and meridians. Ling Xiao's body was suffused with a layer of sparkling light. It was like chaos qi, but also like immortal light. Ancient divine kingdoms emerged one after another. They were like small worlds that were constantly being opened up in the chaos. That kind of power caused the surrounding void to tremble slightly. Brother Ling Xiao, quickly wake up. Jinsei will bring you home now. Jinsei whispered to herself. Then she took a deep breath and left the chrono compass. Hu Feng and the other two are fighting with someone? I'm afraid that group of ghosts from the heaven prison world are chasing after us. A sharp light flashed in Jin Sei's eyes. In an instant, she turned into a stream of light and swept down from the North Pole Mountain. Chapter 2393. Boom. Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo's yin and yang energies intertwined. The supreme power of yang and supreme power of yin instantly fused into one, turning into a beam of yin and yang divine light that shot into the myriad dragons' feng shui formation. In an instant, the mountains began to crumble, and even the dragon veins within them broke apart inch by inch before disappearing into the depths of the earth. The myriad dragons' feng shui formation seemed to have begun to crumble, constantly disappearing and shattering. Hu Feng's expression changed instantly. The myriad dragons' feng shui formation exhausted the changes of the earth veins. Even if the dragon veins collapsed, they could quickly reform. But now, although Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo couldn't see through the formation's real situation, they used their combined strength to forcibly break the formation, leaving Hu Feng with no way to effectively resist. Rumble. The myriad dragon's feng shui formation was completely shattered. Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Young Master, and Giant Axe were all sent flying. Their qi and blood were in turmoil, and traces of blood flowed from the corners of their mouths. They had suffered serious injuries. The combined attack of two great saints was incomparably terrifying. It seemed to have destroyed their fighting spirit in an instant. Fat uncle, thin uncle, don't play with them anymore. Just kill them. I'd like to see how long that woman in red can hide. Wuxia sneered. Don't worry, young master. No one can save them today. Fat Tuchuo said with a smile. His body exuded a holy and dazzling Buddhist light, and at the same time, a faint demonic aura overflowed. It seemed a little out of place, but his aura was unfathomable. I see Tathagata, and Tathagata sees me. The great sun is immortal, and the myriad worlds are eternal. Vairocana Palm. Fat Tuchuo softly chanted a sutra, and a mighty aura of supreme yang radiated from his body. It was like an infinite light that illuminated the myriad worlds. A huge palm print condensed above his head like a dazzling sun, and an eternal Buddha sat cross-legged in it. The Buddha smiled while holding a flower, and instantly the world lost its color. Not good. It's the Vairocana palm. Retreat. Hu Feng exclaimed, and his eyes revealed an incomparably solemn expression. He felt a little bitter. Fat Tuchuo didn't use his full strength just now, but he had already completely suppressed the three of them. The Vairocana palm was rumored to be an incomplete emperor technique, a supreme technique of Buddhism. It was accidentally obtained by Fat Tuchuo, and it became his trump card. When the Vairocana palm struck out, the heavens retreated. Rumble. The mighty Vairocana palm descended from the sky. Although Hu Feng, Huge Axe, and the Purple Thunder Prince all possessed extreme speed, they all used their greater teleportation techniques in an attempt to dodge this palm. However, the palm of Mahavairocana expanded in the sky, covering the sky and covering the sun. No matter what, they could not escape the area covered by this palm. Endless blazing flames rose, and the light of the sun could melt everything, causing a trace of despair to appear in the eyes of Hu Feng and the other two. But at that moment, there was a clap of thunder in the void. The originally blazing sky seemed to have dimmed in an instant. A yin-yang millstone with black and white intertwined in the sky came down, and collided with the Vairocana palm. The yin-yang millstone rotated in the void, as if it could destroy the heavens. It flowed with yin and yang qi. When it collided with the Vairocana palm, it began to break down the supreme yang qi in the Vairocana palm. A terrifying storm swept out in all directions. The yin-yang millstone and the Vairocana palm both shattered in the end. Its master, Hu Feng, the Great Sky Thunder Axe, and the Great Sky Thunder Prince were overjoyed. They took the opportunity to teleport out of the area and escaped. Who are you? Wuxia stared at the illusory figure in the void and said coldly. Rumble. In the divine light that filled the sky, a woman in a red dress slowly walked out. She was like a fairy that had descended from the 9 heavens. Her features were picturesque, and her skin was as fair as jade. She had an unparalleled aura. Aren't you looking for me? A cold and indifferent voice rang out, causing Wuxia's heart to skip a beat. You are the woman in the red dress who has 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Very good. This young master wants your extreme Dao Emperor weapon, and you. This young master wants it too. Wuxia stared at Jinsei and said. He did not hide the passion and greed in his eyes. As the son of Saint King Enmo, Wuxia had naturally seen countless peerless beauties. However, this was the first time he had seen a woman as flawless as Jinsei. Immediately, he felt a desire to possess her. No matter what, he had to make this woman his. Wuxia's heart was going crazy. Master, this woman is not to be trifled with. She doesn't look like she was severely injured. Perhaps she has already recovered. With her Sage Realm cultivation and 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons, I'm afraid we won't be able to take her down. Fat Tuchuo secretly transmitted his voice to Wuxia. Her injuries have healed? Don't worry. It's only been a few months. How can it be so fast? You can test her first. If her injuries are really healed, you won't be able to defeat her. I will naturally transmit my voice to my father. It seems like the 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons will fall into the hands of the sacred city of Enmo. Wuxia licked his lips and laughed coldly. Yes. Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo nodded. The North Pole Mountain was the territory of the sacred city of Enmo. If Wuxia transmitted his voice to the sacred king Enmo, she would be able to come here very quickly. There was nothing to worry about. Master, this person is called Wuxia. He is the son of the sacred king Enmo. It's not good for us to continue fighting. Why don't we leave this place immediately? Otherwise, it will be troublesome if we alert the sacred king Enmo. Hu Feng also whispered to Jinsei. Do you think we can avoid the sacred king Enmo if we leave this place? Why don't we capture Wuxia? At least we can make the sacred king Enmo hesitate. Jinsei said indifferently. Her eyes were filled with coldness. After finding Big Brother Ling Xiao, what Jinsei wanted the most was to leave this place and return to the divine world. However, she was being targeted by a group of flies from the heaven prison world. Little girl, you better surrender obediently. It's your fortune that my young master has taken a liking to you. Otherwise, I'll make sure you die a horrible death today. Fat Tuchuo said with a smile. He took advantage of Jinsei's unpreparedness and attacked. Rumble. Blazing flames rose. It was as if there was a mysterious and ancient world in his palm. He grabbed at Jinsei with an extremely strong devouring power. He wanted to swallow Jinsei into his palm. Fat Tuchuo had also cultivated the Buddhist kingdom in the palm to an extremely powerful level. God knows how many saints were buried in it. Chapter 2394. Although Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo were both great sages, they didn't dare to be careless. After all, Jinsei had 2 extreme Dao Emperor weapons, which were great killing weapons that contained Supreme Emperor's aura. They took the initiative to attack, wanting to catch Jinsei off guard. Before Jinsei could summon her extreme Dao Emperor weapons, they would take her into the Buddhist country in the palm and kill her in one fell swoop. Rumble. The Buddhist country in the palm contained vast devouring power, causing the surrounding sky to tremble slightly. Rays of Buddhist light spread out, revealing an incomparably mysterious nirvana. A bright light flashed in Jinsei's eyes. In an instant he soared into the sky. A yin-yang Tai Chi diagram appeared above his head, emitting a bright radiance. In an instant, it was as if the sky was blotting out the sun. It swept towards Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo. Kacha. Fat Tuchuo's incomparably sturdy Buddhist country in the palm shattered almost instantly. The bright light in the void swept out like a storm, revealing Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo's miserable figures. Not good. Master, this woman has fully recovered her cultivation. Quickly ask the Saint King to come. Otherwise, we will all die here today. Fat Tuchuo's eyes revealed an incomparably terrified expression as he roared at Wuxia. Even though he was already a great sage, he was still like an ant facing a divine dragon in the face of a fully awakened extreme Dao Emperor weapon. The vast extreme Dao Emperor's aura made his heart tremble, as if there was no way he could resist it. What? Wuxia's eyes also revealed a trace of disbelief. Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo were great sages under Saint King Yin Mo. Their strength was superb, and they were good at teamwork. Yin Wuxia didn't expect the two of them to be defeated so quickly. Yin Wuxia didn't even think and immediately wanted to contact Saint King Yin Mo through voice transmission. Freeze! A cold voice resounded in the void. In an instant, the time compass appeared in the void. It slowly rotated, emitting vast power of time, forming an incomparably powerful time domain. Yin Wuxia was instantly frozen in the void. Not only was his physical body unable to move, but even his primordial spirit and thoughts seemed to be frozen. An unprecedented sense of fear surged in his heart, but he couldn't do anything. The time compass was a time divine tool. Not to mention that Yin Wuxia was only a 9th revolution half-saint. Even if he became a saint, he couldn't resist the power of the time compass. Master is still the best. Hu Feng and the others were overjoyed. They immediately flew across the sky, slapping Yin Wuxia's palm and knocked him out. Then they placed dozens of restrictions on him, firmly imprisoned him. You are courting death. Saint King Yin Mo will not let you. They were yin yang to escape from the yin yang tai yang diagrams. Tuchuo's escape was to be they were to Tuchuo to estes Tuchuos. Boom! The yin yang tai yang diagram majestically descended. Yin and yang qi flowed, forming an incomparably mysterious yin yang realm. Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo cultivated the Tao of extreme yang and extreme yin, but at this moment, they were restrained by the yin-yang tai-yang diagram. They were instantly devoured by the yin-yang tai-yang diagram. Inside the yin-yang tai-yang diagram, chaotic light rose. Yin and yang qi intertwined, containing an incomparably chaotic power of laws. It could obliterate everything. Even Saint King Fentian, who was sucked into the diagram, suffered serious injuries, not to mention Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo. Ah! Incomparably miserable cries came from the yin-yang tai-yang diagram. Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo only lasted for a moment before they were obliterated. Let's leave here first. After killing Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo, Jinsei's expression was indifferent. She swept up Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Young Master, Huge Axe and Yin Wuxia, and used the Great Void teleportation technique to leave the North Pole Mountain in an instant. Jinsei was extremely cautious and careful. She had used the yin-yang tai-yang diagram and the time compass before. The aura of these two extreme Tao Emperor weapons must have been captured by someone. This time, she had used two extreme Tao Emperor weapons. It was inevitable that someone would not notice her whereabouts. Jinsei took them and teleported for hundreds of millions of miles, all the way to the southern sea region of the heavenly prison domain. Then, she used the yin-yang tai-yang diagram to transform into a small fish and swam in the vast sea. She took Hu Feng and the others into the world inside the yin-yang tai-yang diagram. Rumble. In the yin-yang world, Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo were completely obliterated. However, their Tao fruits were left behind. One yin and one yang Tao fruit floated in the void, like a bright sun and a bright moon, mysterious and unpredictable. Under the envious gaze of Hu Feng and the others, Jinsei waved her hand and immediately swallowed the two Tao fruits into her body. She cultivated the great Tao of yin and yang. With these two Tao fruits, she could shorten the time needed to become a supreme saint by tens of thousands of years, saving her tens of thousands of years of hard work. Master is now a sage great perfection. After swallowing the Tao fruits of Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo, I'm afraid Master will become a supreme saint soon. Hu Feng's eyes were filled with a trace of emotion. When they first met Jinsei had just entered the sage realm. However, when Jinsei came out of the heavenly prison Blood Sun, she had already reached the middle stage of the sage realm. This time, after cultivating in seclusion, she had directly broken through to the sage great perfection. One had to know that it had only been less than a year. This kind of breakthrough speed was simply unimaginable. I was just lucky, Jinsei said faintly. However, as if she had thought of something, her cheeks could not help but blush. Purple Thunder Prince and Giant Axe noticed Jinsei's abnormality. Although they were curious, they did not say anything. Master, what should we do with Yin Wuxia? Giant Axe looked at Yin Wuxia and said maliciously, Whoosh! Jin Se waved her hand and immediately, the time compass loosened a little on Wuxia. Although his physical body and primordial spirit were still frozen by the power of time, he could still speak. What do you want? I'm telling you, you'd better let me go obediently. Otherwise, my father will not let you go. Wuxia said in a threatening manner. At this moment, his heart was filled with fear. He did not have the slightest desire for Jin Se. The two supreme saints, Fat Tuchuo and Thin Tuchuo, were killed by Jin Se in the blink of an eye. This also made him deeply understand Jin Se's ruthlessness. At this moment, he only wanted to save his life. Fool, you still want to threaten Master? Wuxia, your life is now in Master's hands. What price are you prepared to pay in exchange for your life? Chapter 2395. What will it take for you to let me go? Although Wuxia was furious, he knew that it was not up to him at this moment, so he could only lower his head and ask, how can I leave the heaven prison court? Jin Se looked at Wuxia and said faintly, although she had the yin-yang tai chi diagram and the time compass, and could directly break the space barrier of the heaven prison realm, she knew that the current heaven prison realm had probably been set up by Saint King Fentian and the others. If she chose to directly open the space barrier, she would be instantly discovered by Saint King Fentian and the others. Leave the heaven prison court? Ha ha. Wuxia looked at Jin Se as if he was looking at an idiot. Then he suddenly laughed out loud. The heaven prison court has always been a big cage. No one can even think of leaving here. This is a cursed and forgotten world. Even if you came from the outside world, you are now infected with the curse of the heaven prison court. There is no way for you to leave. Wuxia sneered coldly. Is what he said true? Jin Se frowned slightly as she stared at Hu Feng and the others. Master, although Wuxia is annoying, what he said is not wrong. Hu Feng smiled bitterly and said, the heaven prison court is a world created by the heaven prison great emperor. It contains the heaven prison law, and has been a huge prison since ancient times. Here, experts from the celestial realm, demon realm, and other worlds have gathered here. All of them are extremely vicious criminals. Anyone who comes to the heaven prison court will be infected with the heaven prison law, and be cursed by the heaven prison great emperor. There is no way for them to leave. Master, although you have not been in the heaven prison court for long, you are already infected with the heaven prison law. The Purple Thunder Mister also explained. This is also the reason why the celestial realm, demon realm, and monster realm were so secretive about the heaven prison realm. They didn't dare to enter this place, and as time passed, the heaven prison realm was forgotten. Then I really have no way to leave the heaven prison court? Jin Se asked. It's not that there is no chance. The heaven prison law is also the Tao of the heaven prison great emperor. Master, you have an extreme Tao emperor weapon. If you forcefully open the world barrier, there is a chance for you to escape. But now, the heaven prison world must have been set up by Saint King Fentian and the others. Let's not talk about whether you can open the world barrier. Even if you can, they will instantly discover you. Giant Axe said after some thought. Miss, since you've come from the God realm, I'm sure you've come here because you're being hunted down by your enemies and have nowhere to hide, right? Why don't you marry me? My father is the sacred King Mo, the sacred city of Mo's sacred city. Even among the 10 sacred cities, he's the strongest. As long as you marry me, I'll definitely treat you well. Wuxia looked at Jin Se and smiled. Pa. But before he could say anything, Jin Se frowned and slapped him, breaking all of his teeth. His face swelled up in an instant. Noisy. If you dare to talk nonsense again, do you believe that I will kill you directly? Jin Se said coldly. Miss, there is no deep hatred between us. Even if I have offended you, you have already killed 2 of my men. That should be enough to appease your anger, right? But if you want to leave the heaven prison court, there is a way. Wuxia suppressed the anger in his heart and said with a smile. What way? Jin Se asked. Universe River. Wuxia spat out 3 words. When the 3 words Universe River came out, Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Young Master and Giant Axe's faces changed slightly. What is Universe River? Jinsei noticed Hu Feng and the other two's expressions and looked at them. But Jinsei's heart skipped a beat. She remembered that in the War God realm, there was a forbidden place called Universe River. Could there be a connection between the two? Master, if Wuxia is talking about Universe River, maybe there is a way to leave. But Universe River is too dangerous. Hu Feng sighed and said, Universe River is a forbidden place in the Heaven Prison Court. It is a river that runs through the Heaven Prison Court. Legend has it that it flows through the Heaven Prison Court. It is the origin of all worlds and the end of all worlds. There are countless broken small worlds in it, like the sand in the Ganges River. It is full of danger. Once, there were people in the Heaven Prison Court who wanted to leave the Heaven Prison Court through the Universe River. However, the Universe River was extremely dangerous and contained the chaotic laws of the world. Only saints could get close to it, and it was easy to get lost and fall into the void of darkness. There was once a saint king who wanted to cross Universe River, but he died in it. Since then, Universe River has become a forbidden place in the Heaven Prison Court. No one dares to set foot in it anymore. Purple Thunder Young Master slowly explained the origin and legends of Universe River. Even the Saint Kings perished in the Universe River? Jinsei was slightly moved. A Saint King was a king who stood at the pinnacle of the Saint Path. The Tao fruit in his body had already grown into a towering Tao tree. He could understand the origin of heaven and earth, and was in harmony with the Tao. His strength was unfathomable. If such a peerless figure died in Universe River, it showed how dangerous Universe River was. I can be sure that if you can cross Universe River, you can leave the Heaven Prison Court. Let's see if you dare. Wuxia smiled faintly. What do you have to be so arrogant? Master said he won't kill you, but that doesn't mean he won't make you suffer. Giant Axe was unhappy with Wuxia's attitude and punched Wuxia's abdomen. Suddenly, Wuxia curled up like a cooked lobster. He spat out a mouthful of blood, and even his bile was about to come out. A hint of resentment flashed across his eyes, but he quickly regained his composure. This kid must not be left alive. Hu Feng and Purple Thunder Young Master looked at each other, and saw through each other's thoughts. Wuxia could endure what ordinary people could not. He was decisive and patient. Even if he was only a 9th Revolution half-saint now, he would be a supreme expert in the future. If such a person was left alive, it would be a nightmare for Hu Feng and the others. Miss, I know how to cross Universe River. Can you let me go first? Wuxia looked at Jinsei and said, You know how to cross Universe River? Bah. Master, don't listen to his nonsense. Giant Axe sneered coldly. What? This is the inner world of the extreme Tao Monarch weapon. Even if I want to send a message to my father, I can't send it out. Are you afraid of a mere half-saint? Wuxia smiled faintly. You really know how to cross Universe River? If you lie to me, you should know the consequences. Jinsei said faintly. Don't worry. I won't lie to you. Chapter 2396. Hu Feng and the Purple Thunder Prince frowned slightly. Wuxia was acting strangely at the moment. He didn't look like a prisoner at all. Instead, he had a faint confidence that everything was under his control. This kind of attitude made them feel uncomfortable, but they didn't know what was wrong. Jinsei felt the same, but in order to leave the Heaven Prison world, she chose to take a gamble. So, the time compass spun and instantly released Wuxia's imprisonment. However, it still floated above Wuxia's head. As long as Jinsei willed it, she would be able to restrain Wuxia. Miss, don't be nervous. Since I promised to tell you, I won't lie to you. Wuxia stretched lazily and smiled. The reason why the Universal River is so dangerous is because the great path laws within it are in complete chaos. Even a sacred ruler can only rely on his own strength in the Universal River. He can't borrow the power of heaven and earth. I see that Miss cultivates the grand Tao of Yin and Yang, right? In the Universe River, Miss can use this Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram to refine the power of the chaos law and break it down into the most basic Yin and Yang energy. This will help you step into the Universe River. Break down the power of Yin and Yang? That's not so easy. How do you know? Jinsei frowned as she stared at Wuxia. Of course I know it's not easy. However, between life and death, it can always stimulate a person's greatest potential. Isn't that right? Wuxia said with a faint smile. The corners of his mouth curled into a strange smile. Between life and death? Jinsei was stunned. However, when she saw Wuxia's expression, she instinctively wanted to restrain Wuxia with the time compass. Boom. But within Wuxia's body, it was as if thunder had exploded. His entire body exploded and turned into a bloody mist. Jinsei, Hufeng, Purple Thunder Young Master and Huge Axe were all stunned. They didn't expect Wuxia to commit suicide in front of them. Not good. Master, let's go. Wuxia has committed suicide. Saint King Nemo will definitely be able to track him down. He is using suicide to send a message to Saint King Nemo. Hufeng's face was extremely serious as he quickly said to Jinsei. Why would Wuxia commit suicide? Does he not want to live anymore? Huge Axe asked in disbelief. How could he not want to live? As the son of Holy King Nemo, he must have many life-saving trump cards. My guess is that he didn't really die, but was reborn in another way. No matter what, we've already been exposed to Holy King Nemo's senses. We need to leave quickly. Young Master Purple Thunder said slowly. Let's go straight to the Cosmic River. Jinsei's eyes also became serious. She had been too careless. She had never thought that Wuxia would commit suicide. This was clearly a scheme that had been planned for a long time. Whoosh! The fish formed by the Yin-Yang Taijutsu was like an arrow that had left the bow. It broke through the waves and shot towards the Universe River. As if to prove the Purple Thunder Prince's words, after Wuxia committed suicide, a mighty aura descended from the void and locked onto the Yin-Yang Taiji diagram. I finally found you. A cold voice rang out in the void, instantly causing Hufeng and the other two to feel their hair stand on end. Rumble. In the sky, black demonic light surged and formed a huge black whirlpool. A middle-aged man in a black robe stepped out, his entire body exuding a terrifying aura that caused the void to tremble violently. Holy King Nemo had appeared. Holy King Nemo is so fast. It seems like these people are really willing to pay any price for the extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Hufeng's face turned ugly. Holy King Nemo's aura was too terrifying and vast, covering the sky. Hufeng and the other two found it hard to resist. If it wasn't for the Yin-Yang Taijutsu isolating Holy King Nemo's aura, the aura would have been even stronger. Whoosh! The Yin-Yang Taijutsu pierced through the void and shot towards the Universe River. The Universe River was located in the center of the Heaven Prison Court, hidden in the void. It was a forbidden area in the Heaven Prison Court that caused countless people to turn pale. Jinsei's decision was extremely decisive. She immediately decided to head towards the Universe River. With her current cultivation, even if she had two extreme Dao Emperor weapons, it would be extremely difficult for her to face a Saint King, not to mention that there were 10 Saint Kings in the Heavenly Prison Court. Once she was surrounded, Jinsei would not stand a chance. Where do you think you're going? Holy King Nemo sneered and took a step forward. Suddenly, the surrounding void layers stacked up, covering billions of miles in an instant. She slapped her palm towards the Yin-Yang Taijutsu. Boom! The Yin-Yang Taijutsu sensed Holy King Nemo's attack and instantly stopped. Then it circled around at an extremely tricky angle and dodged Holy King Nemo's palm. It changed direction and continued to shoot forward. Holy King Nemo's palm slammed into the air, creating a shockwave that spread out in all directions like a storm. Boom, boom, boom. Holy King Nemo's attack was extremely fierce, but the Yin-Yang Taijutsu cleverly dodged it every time. The Yin-Yang Taijutsu was extremely fast, and was still moving towards the Universe River. Going to the Universe River? Holy King Nemo's lips curled into a strange smile, as she continued to attack the Yin-Yang Taijutsu. Above the Heaven Prison Court, Holy King Fenshin sat cross-legged in the sky, his body exuding extremely hot flames. The golden glow was dazzling, like an eternal sun. Mysterious runes scattered in all directions, as if there was an extremely mysterious and ancient array that covered the entire Heaven Prison Court. Suddenly a rune lit up. You finally appeared. Holy King Fenshin suddenly opened his eyes. His eyes flashed as he exuded an extremely terrifying energy wave. He took a step forward and disappeared into the void. Extreme Dao Emperor weapons have appeared. That woman in red has finally appeared. I heard that there are already Holy Kings chasing after her. Let's go and take a look. Maybe we can get some benefits. That woman in red has 2 Extreme Dao Emperor weapons. Her identity must be extraordinary. But this time, it's hard to escape. Soon, the news of Jinsei's appearance was known by countless experts in the Heaven Prison Court. Everyone's eyes were filled with excitement as they all gathered in the direction where Jinsei appeared. As for Jinsei, she was still controlling the Yin Yang Taijutsu, dodging Holy King Inmo's attacks as she shot towards the Universe River. What Jinsei didn't notice was that Ling Xiao, who was in the time compass, moved his fingers slightly. Chapter 2397. Rumble. The Yin-Yang Tai Chi image passed through a barrier. Instantly, the surrounding void shook, and divine light blazed. At the same time, chaotic chi gushed out, and the scene before them suddenly became clear. A huge river stretched between the heavens and the earth, surging endlessly. It was vast and boundless. Huge waves collided with the heavens, emitting thunderous rumbling sounds. After arriving here, the heavenly Tao laws that were originally everywhere seemed to have completely disappeared. Even Jinsei felt uncomfortable, as if she had been separated from heaven and earth. This place was filled with chaotic mist and great waves surged into the heavens. All the great Tao laws were shattered and chaotic. The river that surged endlessly before him was like the end of the universe. One could faintly see countless broken small worlds floating above the river like splashes of water. In the face of such a huge river, Jinsei and the rest felt a sense of insignificance compared to the vastness of the world. Master, this is the Universe River. Hu Feng said excitedly. His eyes were filled with reverence. The Universe River? I can't feel any heavenly Tao laws here. I can only rely on my own strength. Jinsei frowned. She felt that she had completely lost her sense of the heavenly Tao laws. Originally, she used the power of heaven and earth to control the Extreme Dao Emperor weapon, but now the Yin-Yang Tai Chi image began to devour her strength. Moreover, the speed of consumption was getting faster and faster. Master! Saints control the power of heavenly Tao and merge with the heavenly Tao. However, the Universe River is the end of all heavens. There are no heavenly Tao laws here at all. It's extremely chaotic. Saints can only rely on their own strength here. Therefore, even if a Saint King loses his way here, he can only die in the end. Hu Feng explained. Rumble. At the same time, Saint King Inmo also caught up. Black demonic light surged. In an instant, it was like a world of darkness. Saint King Inmo walked out of the darkness, exuding a terrifying aura. Little girl, I advise you to just surrender obediently. Although you have an Extreme Dao Emperor weapon, with your cultivation, you won't be able to last long in the Universe River. Don't even think about crossing the Universe River. You won't have a chance. Saint King Inmo's indifferent voice sounded. Who says I won't have a chance? How do you know if you don't try? Jinsei's eyes flashed sharply, and she flew out of the Yin-Yang Taiji diagram. Her red dress fluttered, and she exuded a vast Yin-Yang energy. The Yin-Yang Taiji diagram began to revolve slowly above her head. Rumble. The surrounding chaotic laws and energy began to be devoured and refined by the Yin-Yang Taiji diagram, before transforming into Jinsei's own strength. Although this process was very slow, it was enough to make up for Jinsei's consumption. The Great Tao of Yin-Yang. Your Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram can devour the energy of the Universe River, but do you think you are still my match? Holy King Inemo was slightly surprised, but she still sneered. Translator. Nyobo Studio Editor. Nyobo Studio. The fact that Jinsei could use the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram to swallow the energy of the Universe River surprised Sacred King Inemo. But he didn't think Jinsei was a match for him. Behind him was the vast Universe River. If he took a wrong step, he would fall into the abyss of hell. It could be said that it was a path of certain death. In front of him was Sacred King Yin Demon. At this moment, Jinsei seemed to have no other choice but to fight with her life on the line. Jinsei also understood why Wuxia told her about the Universe River. He probably wanted to force her into the Universe River, so that she could only fight Sacred King Wuxia was very scheming. The moment he was captured by Jinsei, he had already thought of all this. Something's not right. Looking at Holy King Inmo's confident expression, Jinsei suddenly felt that something was wrong. A sense of danger suddenly surged in her heart. She didn't even think about it, and directly teleported away. Rumble. Behind Jinsei, a figure silently appeared. The figure then slammed a palm towards Jinsei. The palm print was extremely domineering and ferocious. Although Jinsei felt that something was wrong, she couldn't completely dodge the attack. The huge palm print slammed onto the yin-yang taiji diagram. Although the powerful palm print was weakened by the yin-yang taiji diagram, some of the power still entered Jinsei's body, causing her to stagger and fly out. Brother Wang Ba, kill her. Seeing Jinsei stumble back, Sacred King Inmo's eyes flashed with killing intent. She charged towards Jinsei. Not good, master. It's Wang Ba, Saint City Lord, Sacred King Wang Ba. He's on good terms with Sacred King Inmo. He must be targeting you. Hu Feng exclaimed, his voice filled with incomparable anxiety. One Sacred King Inmo was already hard enough to deal with, let alone another Sacred King Wang Ba. With two Sacred Kings working together, Jinsei almost instantly fell into a dangerous situation. Damn it! We've been tricked by that bastard Wuxia. The moment he committed suicide, he already informed Sacred King Inmo and Sacred King Wang Ba. This is a trap, waiting for us to fall into it. The Purple Thunder young master figured it all out in an instant. His face turned ugly. Whoosh. After Jinsei was sent flying by Sacred King Wang Ba's slap, her blood was in turmoil. However, she was prepared and did not suffer any serious injuries. Instead, she took the opportunity to soar into the sky. The yin-yang tai chi diagram shone brightly and enveloped Jinsei. The yin and yang chi flowed slowly, forming a perfect and balanced barrier. The great Sacred King Inmo, you've really put in a lot of effort for me. You've even sent out two Sacred Kings. Looks like you're shameless for the sake of an extreme Dao Emperor weapon. Jinsei sneered. Her eyes were filled with undisguised mockery. Sacred King Wang Ba and Sacred King Inmo locked onto her from the front and back. At this moment, Jinsei could not even enter the Universe River, let alone return to the Heaven Prison world. At this moment, Holy King Wang Ba also walked out of the void. He was a burly young man with short hair, wearing a black robe. His face was extremely cold, and his entire body exuded a majestic and domineering aura. Little girl, for the sake of the extreme Dao Emperor weapon in your hands, even if we send out more people, it's worth it. Brother Wang Ba, don't waste your breath on her. Those guys will probably notice the commotion in the Universe River soon. Let's get the two extreme Dao Emperor weapons first. Sacred King Inmo sneered and pointed her finger at Yizichen. Rumble. The black finger light pierced through everything. It contained the sound of ghosts crying and wolves howling, causing one's heart to tremble. This finger was like the finger of a demon emperor. It contained the power to destroy everything. Sacred King Wang Ba, who was behind Jinsei, exuded a dark golden light. His skin flowed with an immortal luster. He punched out and a dark golden fist print flew towards Jinsei. Chapter 2398. Whoosh. Yin and yang qi flowed around Jinsei and split into countless figures that shot out in all directions. At the same time, the yin-yang tai chi diagram shot out two beams of yin and yang light towards the two Sacred Kings. Boom. Under the pincer attack of Saint King Inmo and Saint King Wang Ba, the silhouettes of Jinsei were instantly destroyed. The two beams of yin-yang light collided with the two of them and forced them back at the same time. Sacred King Inmo's sharp finger radiance and Sacred King Wang Ba's fist print were quickly destroyed by the yin and yang light. What a powerful Apex Emperor weapon! Little girl, let's see how many times you can activate the extreme Dao Emperor weapon in the Cosmos River. Sacred King Inmo was not shocked but happy as he sneered at Jinsei. In the Cosmos River, there were no heavenly laws. Even Sacred Kings could not control the power of the heavens and earth. They could only use 10% or 20% of their combat strength. However, this was bad news for Jinsei. She could only use her own strength by using the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram to fight. Although the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram could devour the chaotic laws of the Cosmos River, in the face of such an intense battle, the power it devoured was just a drop in the bucket. Jinsei's cultivation was constantly being depleted. Rumble. The Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram was an Apex Emperor weapon. It contained the Apex Emperor aura. Under Jinsei's control, the Yin and Yang light that burst out was extremely sharp and could destroy everything. However, Sacred King Yin Mo and Sacred King Wang Ba were already prepared for the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram. They knew that the space within the diagram was extremely terrifying. Therefore, they did not get too close to Jinsei and only harassed her from afar. However, such a battle was too exhausting for Jinsei. Before long, her cultivation had been depleted by more than half. When her strength was depleted and she could no longer use the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram, she could only wait to be captured. Master, if this continues, you will definitely fall into their hands. Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Prince, and Giant Axe were extremely anxious. They could see that Jinsei was not in a good state. However, the three of them could not interfere in such a battle. Even if I die, I will not fall into their hands. Jinsei's eyes flashed with a hint of madness. Rumble. Within the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram, two Yin-Yang light beams shot out like lightning. Although Holy King Yin Mo and Holy King Wang Ba tried their best to dodge, they were still hit by the Yin-Yang light beam. Two streaks of blood-red light flashed, and a deep bloody wound appeared on the chests of Saint King Yin Mo and Saint King Wang Ba. The two of them groaned and couldn't help but retreat. There's only one way now, and that's to enter the Universe River. Then they won't dare to continue chasing after us. Jinsei murmured as her gaze fell on the huge river in the distance. Holy King Yin Mo and Holy King Wang Ba seemed to know what Jinsei was thinking. They appeared behind Jinsei and kept attacking her. Every attack had the power to destroy the sky and earth. They didn't give her any chance to enter the Universe River. Seeing that Jinsei was at a disadvantage, Hu Feng and the other two started to panic. Brothers, you should know that if Master is captured by them, we will definitely suffer a fate worse than death. We should take a gamble. Hu Feng gritted his teeth as he looked at Prince Purple Thunder and Huge Axe. Brother Hu, what's your plan? We'll listen to you. The Purple Thunder Prince and the Giant Axe nodded. Their lives were in Jinsei's hands. If Jinsei was captured, they wouldn't be able to survive. Instead of falling into a situation where they would definitely die, they might as well take a gamble. I have a forbidden technique in feng shui called the divination technique. It might be able to stop these two Saint Kings for a moment, enough for Master to escape into the Universe River. However, with my cultivation, it'll be difficult to use the divination technique. So, I need your help. Hu Feng said seriously. Divination technique? I've heard of it before. It seems to be a supreme technique to steal a strand of divination. I didn't expect Brother Hu to know the divination technique as well. Alright. As long as Master can escape, we'll have a chance to survive. The Purple Thunder young Master immediately agreed. Huge Axe also nodded, indicating that he had no objections. If they used the divination technique, as long as they could stop Saint King Yin Mo and Saint King Wang Ba for a moment, Jinsei would be able to escape into the Universe River. Moreover, when Jinsei escaped, Saint King Yin Mo and Saint King Wang Ba wouldn't care about the three of them. They would definitely pursue Jinsei with all their might, giving them a chance to survive. This was a way to survive in the face of death. Rumble. After another violent collision, Jinsei's face paled as she was sent flying. Whoosh. 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 At this moment, three figures shot out from the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram. With the power of heaven, earth and man, they instantly appeared around Saint King Yin Mo and Saint King Wang Ba. Divination technique. Hu Feng's eyes flashed with a hint of madness as he roared. Rumble. The sky in all directions shook violently. The vast vitality around Hu Feng seemed to have been sucked away by some kind of existence. His entire person instantly aged. At the same time, an ancient and mysterious power exploded from Hu Feng's body. Like a blazing light screen, it instantly sealed Saint King Yin Mo and Saint King Wang Ba within. The giant axe and the purple thunder young master did not hesitate at all. In an instant, their majestic life essence began to burn, and the vast life force poured into the light curtain, like a vast boundary, becoming more and more solid. Master, quickly go to the universe river. Wufeng roared at Jinsei. You guys, be careful. Jinsei was also stunned. She didn't expect Wufeng and the other two to come out of the yin-yang tai chi diagram, and even set up an extremely mysterious enchantment to block Saint King Inemo and Saint King Wangba. However, she also knew that this was her best chance. She had to enter the universe river. That was her only chance of survival. Whoosh! Jinsei was like an arrow released from a bow, instantly shooting towards the universe river. You guys are courting death. Saint King Inemo and Saint King Wangba were instantly enraged. They didn't expect that Wufeng, Huge Axe, and Purple Thunder Prince, these three ants, would dare to act so brazenly. They wanted to trap them and create a chance for Jinsei to escape. Rumble! The two Saint Kings attacked at the same time in rage. An earth-shattering power exploded, causing the enchantment created by the divination technique to shake violently. It seemed like it would collapse at any time. However, what shocked the two Saint Kings was that their terrifying attacks didn't break the enchantment in one go. Instead, it took 3 consecutive full-strength attacks to break the enchantment. The moment the enchantment broke, Wufeng, Huge Axe, and Purple Thunder Prince were all struck by lightning. They all spat out mouthfuls of blood and were sent flying. Little girl, where are you going? Chapter 2399. Whoosh! Jinsei's speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, she had already reached the universe river when Sacred King Inemo and Sacred King Wangba were trapped. Rumble! Coming to the universe river, Jinsei could feel the vastness, ancientness, and mysteriousness of the universe river. Waves after waves crashed into the sky, and each wave contained the power of a sacred king. It was extremely terrifying. Jinsei also directly felt the terror of the universe river. As long as I enter the universe river and follow the flow of the broken world, I will be able to leave the heaven prison court. Jinsei thought to herself. She must leave the heaven prison court and bring Brother Ling Xiao home. Gotcha. However, Jinsei didn't expect this to happen. A huge flaming palm print came directly from the universe river, and before Jinsei could react, it hit her directly. Puff! Jinsei was struck by lightning, and even with the protection of the yin-yang tai chi diagram, she was severely injured in an instant. She flew out and left the universe river. Sacred King Fentian. Jinsei's face was extremely pale, but there was a sharp light in her eyes as she stared at the figure that appeared in front of her. Rumble! In the universe river, a figure shrouded in golden flames stepped out, exuding a scorching and terrifying aura. His face was extremely cold, and it was Sacred King Fentian. Jinsei did not expect Sacred King Fentian to hide in the universe river, and when she was unprepared, he used his full strength to attack and severely injured her. It's over. How did Sacred King Fentian get here so quickly? Wufeng, Purple Thunder Prince, and Giant Axe's faces became extremely pale, and their eyes were filled with despair. Now, with 3 Sacred Kings attacking, Jinsei was severely injured, and there was no chance for her to escape. Even the last path, the universe river, was cut off. Sacred King Fentian? You hid in the universe river? I think you want to be the fisherman, right? Sacred King Inemo and Sacred King Wangba breathed a sigh of relief, but their faces became unfriendly. Jinsei was hit out of the universe river by Sacred King Fentian, and she was severely injured in one hit. Now there was no chance for her to enter the universe river and escape. Sacred King Inemo and Sacred King Wangba breathed a sigh of relief, but they were still extremely vigilant against Sacred King Fentian's actions. Brothers, you two's eyes, forcing this girl into the universe river to set up a trap, but aren't you two's too careless? If it wasn't for me, this girl would have escaped into the universe river. Sacred King Fun. Sacred King Fentian smiled. Sacred King Fentian. Fun Fentian face Sacred King Inemo and Sacred King Wang Bie, and Sacred of course, of sacred King Wang and sacred king, sacred Fun Tian's fun sacred king of sacred king sacred King Fun Tian's appetite was too big. He wanted to take one of the sacred King Fun Tian alone. He didn't even put the two of them in his eyes, and this made them extremely angry. However, they were still a little wary of sacred King Fun Tian. Sacred King Fun Tian's combat strength was extremely strong. Even among the 10 great sacred kings, he could be ranked in the top 3. Naturally, this created his overbearing and arrogant aura. Brothers, it's not up to you now. This girl no longer has the strength to fight. Even if I snatch the yin-yang taiji diagram, what can you do to me? Don't forget, those guys are about to arrive. At this time, we should unite against a common enemy. Otherwise, it'll all be for naught. The burning heaven Saint King said with a faint smile, as if everything was under his control. Cough cough. At this moment, Jin Sei's face was incomparably pale. There was a trace of blood at the corner of her mouth, and her aura became weak. Jin Sei's eyes also revealed a trace of despair. Could it be that she was going to die here today? However, Brother Ling Xiao, I promised to bring you home. Unfortunately, I have to go back on my words today. Jin Sei's gaze passed through the yin-yang taiji diagram and the time compass, wanting to take one last look at Ling Xiao. However, to her shock, Ling Xiao had disappeared. At the same time, above the universe river, a faint but clear voice slowly rang out. Why don't I tell you the answer? Leave your lives, and I won't pursue the crime of injuring Jin Sei. Rumble. The sky was filled with dazzling divine light. Purple chi rose, as if a vast purple world had emerged. Thunderbolts intertwined like dragons, bursting with ancient and mysterious dragon roars. In the divine light that filled the sky, a young figure appeared in front of everyone. After the figure appeared, the mysterious space actually began to tremble violently. The chaotic laws all surged towards him, turning into the most brilliant and resplendent halo that illuminated everything. Who are you? Saint King Fun Tian, Saint King Nemo, and Saint King Wangba couldn't help but tremble. Their sharp gazes instantly fell on the figure, full of vigilance. They didn't expect that there would be someone hiding in the universe river. The three of them didn't notice at all. It's Brother Ling Xiao. Jin Sei was stunned. Her body trembled uncontrollably, and her chest rose and fell. Her eyes were filled with uncontrollable excitement and joy. 2 lines of tears even streaked across her cheeks, dripping down drop by drop. That familiar voice, the voice that she yearned for day and night. Who else could it be but Ling Xiao? Amidst the dazzling light, Ling Xiao's robe was whiter than snow. His black hair fluttered in the wind as he slowly walked towards Jin Sei. His eyes were as bright as the stars. There was a faint smile on his lips as he slowly walked towards Jin Sei. Jin Sei, I've made you suffer during this time. Ling Xiao stood in front of Jin Sei and reached out to wipe away the tears on her cheeks. His face was filled with tenderness, and he slowly pulled Jin Sei into his arms. Brother Ling Xiao, do you know how much I've missed you? I've missed you. Jin Sei's shoulders trembled as she hugged Ling Xiao tightly. An unprecedented sense of security surged in her heart. The corner of her mouth lifted into a faint smile, and her eyes became blurred. Jin Sei, I've missed you too. Ling Xiao said seriously. It was as if he was talking to himself, but also as if he was answering Jin Sei. At the universe river, between heaven and earth, it was as if only Ling Xiao and Jin Sei's figures existed. This pair of lovers hugged each other tightly, and it was a beautiful moment. Chapter 2400. It was as if he had been dreaming for a long time. In the dream, Jin Sei traveled across the land and finally found him. Then, she stayed by his side and healed him, gave him hope, and saved him from eternal darkness. Jin Sei was his light, the hope that he persevered with. She was his life. At this moment, Ling Xiao hugged Jin Sei tightly. It was as if Jin Sei would leave him completely if he let go. This warm feeling made him unwilling to let go. At this moment, heaven and earth were no longer in his eyes. Time and space were forgotten. He only had her in his eyes, Jin Sei. At this moment, the universe river became calm. The three Saint Kings were no longer in Ling Zhao's eyes. However, this kind of disregard made Saint King Fenshen, Saint King Inemo, and Saint King Wangba a little angry. Kid, I don't care who you are. Hand over the extreme monarch weapon, and that little girl. Otherwise, no one can save you today. Saint King Inmo's eyes were gloomy and cold as he stared at Ling Xiao. Although Ling Zhao's appearance was a little sudden and shocking, Saint King Inemo could see that Ling Zhao's cultivation was only in the saint realm. He wasn't even a great saint, so he didn't take him seriously. Kid, are you done being affectionate? You were the one who said that you wanted to take our lives, right? Come. I want to see how you're going to take our lives. The Burning Heavens Saint King also sneered, his voice incomparably ear-piercing. Ling Xiao and Jin Se hugged each other. This beautiful moment was very short. It was instantly broken by Saint King Fenshen and the others. Ling Zhao's eyes couldn't help but turn cold. Brother Ling Xiao, these three Saint Kings are very strong. Be careful. Jin Se said worriedly. Don't worry. Leave it to me. Ling Xiao patted Jin Se's shoulder and smiled gently. Then he shielded Jin Se behind him and slowly turned around. Since you're in such a hurry to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Ling Zhao's eyes fell on Saint King Fenshen, Saint King Inemo, and Saint King Wangba. A ray of purple light shot out from his eyes. The three Saint Kings couldn't help but tremble. Ling Zhao's gaze was too sharp, giving the three saint rulers an illusion. It was as if they were facing an invincible emperor. There was an invincible aura about him. Ling Xiao stood in front of Jin Se, his body glowing with a purple light. It was as if there was a layer of immortal substance around him, making him appear transcendent and mysterious. For some reason, Ling Zhao's cultivation seemed to only be at the saint realm, but at this moment, he gave Burning Heaven Saint King and the other two a strong sense of threat. Stop pretending. I'll kill you. Wang Ba's eyes flashed with murderous intent, and he took the lead to charge towards Ling Xiao. Overlord's fist. Rumble. He threw out a punch, and the dark golden fist contained a fierce and domineering power. The dark golden light around him surged and appeared like dragon scales, making his entire aura become violent and terrifying. He cultivated the Overlord's heavenly technique, which was a supreme inheritance from his bloodline. It allowed him to have an invincible physical strength. In this universe river, even if he couldn't use the power of heaven and earth, he could still unleash an extremely strong combat strength. Burning Heaven Saint King and Saint King Inmo's eyes flashed, but they didn't make a move. They both felt that Ling Xiao was a little strange. Now that Saint King Wangba made a move, it was a good opportunity to test him. Facing Saint King Wangba, Ling Xiao also threw out a punch. Rumble. The chaotic void around them instantly became more violent. Unparalleled divine light burst out, and a purple fist appeared in the void. It came majestically, containing an ancient and mysterious power fluctuation, as if it had annihilated all the chaotic laws around it. The two fists instantly collided in the void. It was like an endless explosion of lightning. In an instant, the dazzling light ignited and illuminated the universe river. It was so bright that people couldn't open their eyes. It was extremely bright. Saint King Wangba felt an unparalleled power coming at him, and his face changed drastically. His arm suddenly exploded in the void, turning into a bloody mist. Ling Zhao's punch didn't slow down. After turning his arm into dust, it violently slammed into his chest. Kacha. Saint King Wangba's entire body exploded in the void. A terrifying storm swept in all directions, completely annihilating the bloody mist in the sky. In the divine light that filled the sky, Ling Xiao maintained his punching posture. His expression was calm, and his eyes were sharp. The power around him was terrifying to the extreme. Hiss. Burning Heaven Saint King and Saint King Inemo both sucked in a breath of cold air. They were completely shocked. They didn't expect this to be the result. Who was Saint King Wangba? Legend had it that he had the bloodline of the tyrant dragon. He was a Saint King expert who cultivated the Overlord's fist. He had always been known for his physical body, and his combat strength was extremely terrifying. It was said that his physical body wasn't much weaker than a physical saint. However, such a Saint King was forcefully blasted apart by Ling Xiao. Am I seeing things? What kind of monster is this? With the cultivation of a saint, he actually blasted a Saint King apart with one punch? This is impossible. Giant Axe opened his mouth wide, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. Master seems to have called him Ling Xiao? Who is this Ling Xiao? How can he have such monstrous combat strength? Even an ancient emperor wouldn't be able to do so, right? Purple Thunder Prince also muttered to himself. I don't know, but I can see that this young Master Ling Xiao is walking the path of a physical saint. A divine light flashed in Hu Feng's eyes as he slowly said, Physical saint. As soon as these 4 words came out, it immediately shocked everyone. Physical saint was breaking the limits of the physical body. It didn't rely on the Tao of heaven and earth, and the body formed a small world of its own. The path of invincibility only existed in legends. The heavenly prison court had never heard of anyone walking the path of a physical saint. But now, Ling Xiao's peerless punch made them feel the terror of a physical saint. Buzz. Although Saint King Wangba was blasted apart by Ling Xiao's punch, he was a Saint King expert. His vitality was extremely terrifying, and it wasn't so easy to kill him. The flesh in the void wriggled, and a majestic life force erupted, and soon a new body was formed. But Saint King Wangba's face was filled with shock at this moment. You are a physical saint? No, even if you are, you can't hurt me like this. Who are you? Saint King Wangba stared at Ling Xiao. I am Ling Xiao. Chapter 2401. Ling Xiao. Sage King Wangba, Sage King Inemo, and Sage King Skyburn were all stunned. They had never heard of this name before. The heavenly prison court was a huge cage. They had been isolated from the outside world for countless years, and did not know what happened in the outside world. Naturally, they did not know what Ling Xiao's name meant. Brothers, this kid's physical body is extremely terrifying. If we were outside the universe river and could mobilize the laws of heaven and earth, we could easily suppress this kid. However, in the universe river, his freakish physical body had gained the upper hand. Let's attack together and kill him. I don't want the extreme Tao monarch weapon. I only want his physical body. Holy King Wangba stared at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with undisguised passion. The Tyrannosaurus Rex belonged to the dragon race. Its physical body was extremely strong. Sage King Wangba had the bloodline of the Tyrannosaurus Rex and cultivated the Tyrannosaurus celestial technique. But in terms of physical body, his physical body was definitely the strongest among the 10 Sage Kings. But today he suddenly realized that Ling Xiao's physical body was far stronger than his. Immediately, he was sure that Ling Xiao must have a huge secret. Alright, so what if your physical body is strong? Today, I'll let you know what it means to be a Sage King. Even without the laws of heaven and earth, I can still kill you. Sage King Skyburn said coldly with killing intent burning in his eyes. Although Sage King Inemo did not say anything, the terrifying demonic light around him rose. His eyes were filled with killing intent, which also showed his attitude. They were all shocked by Ling Xiao's punch, so they chose to attack together. 3 Sage Kings joining forces to deal with a sage. If this spread out, it would shock countless people. Come at me together. If you guys come at me together, you can take a few more blows from me. Otherwise, it'll be too boring. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. He reached out his hand and grabbed the void. Suddenly, lightning flashed and the void shook as if an ancient world had exploded. Rumble. A mighty aura erupted from Ling Xiao's body. Purple divine light lingered around him, making him appear ethereal and otherworldly. He took a step forward and instantly shook the void. Even the universe river became more turbulent and turbulent. The qi and blood around Ling Xiao were purplish gold in color, majestic and mysterious. It gushed out from his pores like a purple storm. The power in his body was terrifying to the extreme, as if it could shatter the galaxy and destroy the world. Every particle around him was a small world, containing unimaginable power. Arrogant. Wang Ba and Sheng Wang's eyes shone with an unparalleled sharpness. Feeling the terrifying aura from Ling Xiao, they knew that they couldn't wait any longer. Instantly, they attacked at the same time. Roar! An ancient dragon's roar erupted from Holy King Wang Ba's body. In an instant, a huge dragon-shaped phantom appeared above his head. Its dark golden eyes were full of majesty and mystery. As Wangba Holy King punched out, the dark golden dragon-shaped shadow instantly merged with Wangba Holy King. The fist print seemed to have come alive, turning into a dark golden Tyrannosaurus Rex that charged towards Ling Xiao. Clang! Blazing saber light rose. Holy King Burning Sky's palm was instantly enveloped by golden flames. He used his palm as a saber, and a huge golden flaming saber appeared in the sky. The sharp saber light illuminated the world as it slashed down towards Ling Xiao. Buzz! Meanwhile, Holy King Enmo's figure trembled, and instantly split into billions of clones. Each of the clones exploded with disturbing sound waves, intertwining with each other. It was like a demonic dance, disturbing Ling Xiao's mind, and then looking for an opportunity to launch a sure-kill attack. The moment the three great Saint Kings attacked, it was an earth-shattering attack, sweeping out in all directions. Tyrannosaurus Rex. Sky-burning flaming saber. Demonic sound attack. The three Holy Kings have indeed used their trump cards. Although young Master Ling Xiao's physical body is invincible, will he really be a match for the three Holy Kings? Hu Feng's expression was extremely solemn as he muttered to himself. His heart was filled with nervousness. If Hu Feng and the other two had not witnessed the battle between Holy Kings and Holy Kings with their own eyes, they would have died without a doubt. However, Ling Xiao had broken their understanding. Although they hoped that Ling Xiao could create a miracle, they could not help but be filled with worry. Facing the three Holy Kings attacking together, Ling Xiao's expression was indifferent and calm. There was no fear at all. Fine. It's your honor to be able to see the primordial immortal body with your own eyes. I'll grant you this honor. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, the three Holy Kings' attacks had already landed on his body. The Tyrannosaurus Rex roared. The vast dragon roar seemed to be able to destroy everything. The true burning flame flowed with golden light as a huge saber slashed down from the sky, splitting heaven and earth into two. At the same time, it was mixed with a whistling demonic sound, causing people's minds to be in turmoil. It was as if they were about to sink into endless darkness in an instant. Everyone saw that Ling Xiao was instantly enveloped by this storm. Boom. However, at the same time, a purple divine light instantly shot into the sky, exuding a mighty, immortal, and everlasting brilliance that bloomed. Regardless of whether it was the Tyrannosaurus Rex or the flaming saber that could incinerate everything, they all stopped 3 feet away from Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by a purple aura, like a mysterious barrier, blocking everything. What? Holy King Fenshin and Holy King Wangba were all shocked. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. They had all unleashed their most powerful attacks. It was their peak strength, but they could not even break through Ling Xiao's defense. Ling Xiao just stood in front of them. The purple aura around him blocked all the attacks as he looked at them indifferently. At this moment, they were so close to each other. Moreover, what made Holy King Fenshin and Holy King Wangba even more incredulous was that the purple aura around Ling Xiao's body emitted an incomparably powerful devouring force. It absorbed all the power of the Tyrannosaurus Rex and the flaming saber technique, and it continued to devour them. This is the primordial immortal body. Holy King Fenshin and Holy King Wangba's hearts began to tremble. There was even a trace of fear in their eyes. If they couldn't even break through Ling Xiao's defense, how could they continue fighting? Didn't this mean that Ling Xiao could surpass 2 realms and crush Holy Kings with just the cultivation of the Saint Realm? Even though in this universe river, Holy Kings could only unleash 10% or 20% of their combat power, but they could still see how terrifying and heaven-defying Ling Xiao was. Chapter 2402. Primordial Heaven Splitting. Ling Xiao spat out these 4 words. Rumble. The vast purple aura around Ling Xiao suddenly surged like an erupting volcano. The terrifying energy was like a huge wave that slammed onto Saint King Fenshin and Saint King Wangba. Crack. Regardless of whether it was the Tyrant Dragon Avatar or the heaven-burning flaming blade, both of them exploded at the same time. The 2 of them were too close to Ling Xiao and were swept away by the terrifying primordial energy. Immediately, they felt as if they had been struck by lightning. A small half of their bodies shattered and blood spurted from their mouths. Saint King Inemo, who was hiding in the dark, was also destroyed by the attack. Although he was not like Saint King Wangba and Saint King Fenshin who took Ling Xiao's attack head-on, he still suffered some injuries and was pushed back. Vast purple aura rose from Ling Xiao's body, as though it was going to shatter the void. It was like the origin of the myriad of worlds, the energy at the beginning of chaos. It was ancient and mysterious. Could young Master Ling Xiao be the reincarnation of an ancient emperor? Hu Feng and the other two were completely stunned. They originally thought that it would be an extremely intense battle. In the end, it was hard to say whether Ling Xiao could defeat the three Saint Kings. However, the result of this battle was far beyond their expectations. They did not expect Ling Xiao's physical body to be so terrifying. Not only did he block the combined attack of the three Saint Kings, he also injured them in an instant. Primordial immortal body? I have never heard of such a body constitution. Could it be young Master Ling Xiao created it himself? The Purple Thunder Prince suppressed the shock in his heart and said in disbelief, I seem to feel the origin of the myriad of worlds, the energy at the beginning of chaos. Young Master Ling Xiao is definitely not an ordinary person. He might really be the reincarnation of an ancient emperor. Giant Axe said with his mouth agape. Brother Ling Xiao is actually so strong? Jin Sei's eyes were filled with joy. Previously in the divine world, during the battle at the Ling Xiao mountain, Ling Xiao had only managed to injure a Sage King with the help of an Extreme Dao Emperor weapon. However, Ling Xiao did not have an Extreme Dao Emperor weapon now, and his cultivation was only at the great perfection stage of the true Saint realm. Yet he was able to suppress three Sage Kings by himself. What kind of heaven-defying combat strength was this? Cough cough. Ling Xiao's face suddenly turned pale. He groaned, and a trace of blood appeared at the corner of his mouth. This time, he had acted too pretentiously. Ling Xiao smiled bitterly inside. He had wanted to test out the power of the primordial immortal body when facing the fierce attacks of the three saint rulers. However, the primordial immortal body did not disappoint him. It was extremely powerful. Not only did it block the attacks of the three saint rulers, it even heavily injured the three saint rulers with primordial heaven splitting. However, in reality, the attacks of the three saint rulers had reached the limits of the primordial immortal body. Moreover, his soul was still rather weak, so he had also suffered some injuries. The primordial immortal body was indeed created by Ling Xiao himself. The battle at the Ling Xiao mountain range was too tragic, especially at the end outside of the demon world. Ling Xiao had detonated the wordless heavenly book and perished together with Yuan Lu demon lord. Ling Xiao's body was already shattered, and his soul was about to dissipate. However, the primordial immortal vapor in his body had saved him. The primordial immortal vapor was the origin energy at the beginning of the chaos. It contained the creation of heaven and earth and the ultimate secret of life. Although Ling Xiao did not know the exact use of the primordial immortal vapor, it had saved him. In the endless space, it had collected his shattered soul and helped him reform his body. Under the guidance of the primordial immortal vapor, it had brought him to the heavenly prison blood Sunday. The heavenly prison blood sun contained an extremely vast origin energy of life. It interacted with the primordial immortal vapor, and because of the dual cultivation with Jin Sei, Ling Xiao's body had reached a balance of yin and yang, allowing him to survive. Of course, Ling Xiao did not know any of this. He only knew that after he had detonated the wordless heavenly book, the creation jade disc fragment, and all the treasures in the Great Void Holy Hall were completely shattered. Under the effect of the primordial immortal vapor, they had integrated into his physical body. Ling Xiao did not know the state of his physical body. After the initial integration of the wordless heavenly book, the creation jade disc, the Great Void Holy Hall, and many other treasures, his physical body had already transformed into a treasure. The primordial immortal body was the name that Ling Xiao had given to his physical body. The primordial heavens splitting was also the most powerful technique that he had comprehended by combining the primordial immortal vapor and his insanely powerful physical body. Even though the integration of a chaotic treasure and an extreme Dao Emperor weapon was only at the initial stage, It was not difficult for him to block the attack of a Sage King. However, Ling Zhao's primordial spirit was still too weak compared to his physical body. He was unable to control the primordial immortal body, so he had suffered some injuries. He is also injured? I knew it. He would not be able to block our attacks so easily. Sage King Fentian, Sage King Wangba, and Sage King Inemo noticed the blood at the corner of Ling Zhao's mouth. Their eyes lit up and they heaved a sigh of relief. If Ling Xiao really managed to block their attacks unscathed, or even heavily injure them, then the three saint rulers would really become a joke. They would rather believe that Ling Xiao was forcing himself to fight with them, and that he was already severely injured. Rumble. Blazing divine light rose around the three saint kings, and an incomparably majestic aura of life surged, causing their shattered bodies to quickly recover to their original state. In reality, the Sage Kings were already at the peak of the Sage Path. The Tao fruit in their bodies had already grown into a towering tree. Their vitality was boundless. No matter how severe their injuries were, they could quickly recover. Unless one could kill a Sage King with lightning speed, it would be very difficult to kill a Sage King. Kill. Murderous intent flashed in the eyes of the three Sage Kings. They charged towards Ling Xiao once again. Those who could cultivate to the Sage King realm were all decisive experts. They would not give up until they achieved their goals. As long as Ling Xiao did not have the strength to kill them in one blow, they had nothing to be afraid of. On the contrary, they could rely on the vitality of the Sage King realm to exhaust Ling Xiao to death. In their opinion, Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the Sage realm. Even if his physical body was incomparably strong, in such an intense battle, his energy would definitely be exhausted faster than theirs. Rumble. The three Sage Kings exuded a monstrous aura. Their eyes were extremely cold as they unleashed their strongest treasured techniques, and charged towards Ling Xiao. Chapter 2403. Gotcha. Bolts of lightning crisscrossed across the sky. The attacks of the three Saint Kings were like a volcanic eruption, whistling as they arrived, causing the already chaotic universe river to become even more turbulent. Bang! Sage King Wangba threw out a punch. His fist was like a dragon, accompanied by a blazing dragon's roar. An ancient world appeared directly, suppressing towards Ling Xiao. If you want to fight, then let's fight. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, revealing an incomparably strong fighting spirit. Yi Futian threw a punch at Holy King Wangba without dodging. His fist light lit up the world like a bright star, instantly colliding with Holy King Wangba. Kacha! A muffled sound came from the void. An unparalleled divine light gushed out in all directions. Ling Xiao broke through Holy King Wangba's fist, and then directly punched him in the chest, blasting him out. Clang! Above Ling Xiao's head, Saint King Burning Sky's blazing saber light whistled. The huge saber light seemed to want to split the universe river in half. It was extremely sharp. Purple light flashed around Ling Xiao. He took a step forward, leaving behind afterimages. He dodged the saber light by a hair's breadth and then pointed his finger in the air. The huge saber light trembled violently as if it had suffered an extremely terrifying force and suddenly shattered. Whoosh! At the same time, Saint King Inemo seemed to have found an opportunity. A terrifying demonic sound exploded in the void. Streaks of black light instantly shot towards Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. The demonic sound was extremely ear-piercing. Even Jin Se and Hu Feng, who were far away, felt their faces turn pale. Their primordial spirits trembled, and they fell into a state of dizziness. In Saint King Inmo's opinion, although Ling Xiao's physical body was extremely strong, his primordial spirit must be his weakness. The primordial spirit of a saint could not be stronger than a Saint King's primordial spirit. Therefore, Saint King Inemo wanted to directly attack the root of the problem and directly destroy Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. His guess was not wrong. However, because Ling Xiao knew his weakness was his primordial spirit, he would double his efforts to protect his primordial spirit. Boom! The center of Ling Xiao's brows shone brightly. Streaks of purple light shot out like lightning, containing the power to destroy everything. They directly shattered the energy that Holy King Inemo had unleashed. A blazing light shot out from Ling Xiao's palm like a vast world that could swallow everything. In an instant, he locked onto Holy King Yinmo's position from the void and slapped out with his palm. A vast devouring sacred domain appeared behind Ling Xiao. It contained the law of devouring, and was about to devour Sacred King Yinmo. Saint King Yinmo was shocked. He hadn't expected Ling Xiao to be able to lock onto his position. A black light flashed in his hand, and an ancient black sword appeared, stabbing towards Ling Xiao's palm. Whoosh! The sword light was extremely sharp. It pierced through Ling Xiao's palm, but it instantly sank into the mud. It was entangled by the devouring power, continuously devouring the essence of the ancient sword. Saint King Yinmo hurriedly retreated. That ancient sword, a supreme-grade sacred treasure, actually turned into dust at a speed visible to the naked eye. Its essence was completely devoured. What a domineering, devouring power! Saint King Yinmo's eyes were filled with fear. Ling Xiao, take this. Overlord suppresses the world. Seeing that Holy King Yinmo was entangled by Ling Xiao, Saint King Wangba's eyes flashed sharply. He roared and directly punched towards Ling Xiao. Rumble! Dark golden light rose around him, and his entire body instantly expanded. He directly became 10,000 feet tall in the void. The aura in his body was extremely terrifying. A huge dark golden fist print smashed down like a mountain. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He gave up on Saint King Yinmo and directly charged towards Saint King Wangba. The blood around his body rose, and purple divine light condensed. The power of mountains and tsunamis erupted. Finally, it gathered on his arm and turned into a purple fist print, colliding with Saint King Wangba. Crack! It was as if billions of lightning bolts exploded. The collision between Ling Xiao and Saint King Wangba was an extreme confrontation of physical strength. A terrifying storm instantly swept out in all directions. Although Saint King Wangba exploded with his strongest power, he was still sent flying by Ling Xiao's punch. Whoosh! Ling Xiao rushed into the sky and took the opportunity to grab Saint King Wangba's arm. An incomparably terrifying power exploded in his body. He directly swung Saint King Wangba up, and then smashed him towards Saint King Fenshin. The sky was filled with true sky-burning flames, which contained an incomparably blazing saber light. However, it was all shattered by Saint King Wangba at this moment. Boom! 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 Although Saint King Fenshin, Saint King Yinmo, and Saint King Wangba attacked with all their might, they were still suppressed by Ling Xiao. They were constantly injured, but they continued to stand up and attack Ling Xiao. The universe river surged violently. Endless divine light rose, and huge waves hit the sky. In those waves, every drop of water was a mysterious world. The power gathered from each other made everyone tremble in fear. The place where Ling Xiao and the three Saint Kings fought was at the edge of the universe river. Although the battle between them was incomparably fierce, as if they had a tacit understanding, they did not get close to the universe river. What they did not notice was that because of their battle, the universe river seemed to have become somewhat turbulent. Waves of chaotic mist spread out from the universe river, emitting an incomparably strange aura fluctuation. Crack! At this moment, the void in the distance shattered once again. 7 figures with terrifying auras appeared in the void like dazzling suns. Not good. The other 7 Saint Kings have arrived. Hu Feng exclaimed. His eyes revealed an incomparably solemn expression. There were 10 Saint Kings in the heavenly prison court. Although the strength of these 10 Saint Kings varied, there was not much difference between them. Therefore, these 10 Saint Kings had been in an incomparably chaotic state all these years. No one could break this balance. The appearance of Jin Se and the extreme Dao Emperor weapon made everyone unable to sit still. If one of the 10 Saint Kings obtained the extreme Dao Emperor weapon first, this balance would be completely broken. It would not be difficult for them to unify the heavenly prison court in the future. Although Saint King Yinmo, Saint King Wangba, and Saint King Fenshin were one step ahead and directly locked onto Jin Se's tracks and chased her all the way to the universe river. Chapter 2404. The auras of the 7 great sage kings were vast and unparalleled as they emitted blazing light. They were like bright divine suns that were unfathomable as they descended upon the universe river. However, when they saw the great battle at the universe riverside, their eyes were filled with shock. Fun Tian, Enmo and Wang Ba are being suppressed by someone. Who is he? A sage king said in disbelief. They saw that Fun Tian and the other two were being suppressed by a young man who was only in the saint realm. They were at a disadvantage and had suffered unimaginable injuries. Since when could a saint defeat a sage king? The scene before their eyes had simply exceeded their knowledge and imagination. The extreme Dao Emperor weapon is with the lady in red dress? Looks like this young man is related to the lady in red dress. A sage king's eyes flashed as he thought to himself. Swoosh! Immediately, some of the 7 great saint kings could no longer hold back. An old man in a black robe, whose eyes were filled with incomparable greed, immediately attacked Jin Se with extreme speed. He wanted to make the first move and seize the opportunity to capture Jin Se and snatch the apex monarch weapon from her. It's that old man thieving heaven. The other 6 sage kings' eyes flashed. They did not attack like the old man in a black robe, but chose to observe for the time being. Sage King Thieving Heaven cultivated the Tao of Thieving Heaven and was proficient in the art of thieving. It was said that he had even stolen an ultimate emperor weapon from an ancient emperor's tomb. Although he was not very strong, he had many tricks up his sleeves. The other 6 sage kings wanted to see if Thieving Heaven could get the extreme Tao emperor weapon from Jin Se. Not good. Master, it's Sage King Thieving Heaven. When the 7 saint kings appeared, Jin Se, Hu Feng, and the others naturally sensed their presence, but Hu Feng didn't expect that Saint King Thieving Heaven would choose to attack Jin Se without saying a word. Swoosh! Jin Se's eyes flashed sharply as she saw Sage King Thieving Heaven charging towards her. She immediately took out the Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram. The Yin-Yang Tai Chi diagram slowly opened up in the void and shot out rays of Yin-Yang light that intertwined and enveloped Sage King Thieving Heaven. Hee hee, little girl, it's not safe for you to keep this extreme Tao Emperor weapon. Give it to me. Saint King Thieving Heaven was a very skinny old man with a crafty look. His voice was very faint. No one knew where it came from. The yin-yang light beams shot into the void. Unable to lock onto Sage King Thieving Heaven, they all shot into the air. However, Jin Se's expression changed. She sensed a mysterious power stealing the power of the yin-yang taiji diagram and removing the brand she had left in it. It wanted to seize control. Saint King Thieving Heaven's true body silently appeared above the yin-yang taiji diagram. Black runes surged in his palm, trying to take control of the diagram. Jin Se didn't know how Saint King Thieving Heaven did it. A trace of her primordial spirit mark was erased, causing her to suffer a bit of backlash. She couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood. You're courting death. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with murderous intent when he saw Jin Se's injuries. He immediately gave up on the 3 Saint Kings and charged towards Saint King Thieving Heaven. Rumble! Ling Zhao punched out. His fist was fierce and domineering, emitting purple light as it pressed down on Saint King Thieving Heaven. Saint King Thieving Heaven sensed Ling Zhao's attack, and a trace of mockery appeared in his eyes. His body seemed to become illusory, completely disappearing from the void. However, he was still hiding in the dark, constantly erasing the primordial spirit mark Jin Se had left in the diagram. Get the hell out! Ling Zhao roared. A vast power of time burst out like a storm, causing the space-time to become chaotic. It directly forced Saint King Thieving Heaven out of the space-time. Boom! The ferocious fist instantly arrived in front of Saint King Thieving Heaven. What? Saint King Thieving Heaven was stunned. He didn't expect Ling Zhao to be able to force him out of the space-time. At this moment, facing Ling Zhao's fist, he could only choose to meet it head-on. Rumble! Saint King Thieving Heaven met the fist with a palm and wanted to take the opportunity to retreat. However, when the fist and palm collided, Saint King Thieving Heaven finally understood how terrifying Ling Zhao's physical body was. Unparalleled divine power burst out and directly pierced through Saint King Thieving Heaven's palm, turning his arm into dust. Moreover, it went through his meridians and directly entered his body, causing his internal organs to tremble violently. PFFF. After receiving such a terrifying blow, Even Saint King Thieving Heaven couldn't help but turn pale. He suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, and was directly sent flying. This kid's battle strength is actually so terrifying? The other 6 Saint Kings were also incomparably shocked. Their eyes were filled with seriousness. Not only did Ling Xiao suppress Saint King Burning Heaven, and the other 2, even Saint King Thieving Heaven, who had a strange whereabouts, was locked onto by him, and was even heavily injured by a single punch. This made the other Saint Kings extremely shocked and fearful. Are you all here for the Extreme Dao Emperor weapon? If you want the Extreme Dao Emperor weapon, then use your lives to exchange for it. Ling Zhao's eyes were filled with coldness. He swept his gaze across Saint King Fen Tian, Saint King Enemo, Saint King Wangba, Saint King Thieving Heaven, and the other 6 Saint Kings. There was no fear in his eyes at all. His voice was extremely domineering. Kid, who are you? I advise you to obediently hand over the Extreme Dao Emperor weapon, if you know what's good for you. You are not a match for us 10 Saint Kings. A Saint King sneered. Although they were wary of Ling Zhao's terrifying battle strength, in front of the temptation of the Extreme Dao Emperor weapon, the 10 Saint Kings all chose to be enemies with Ling Xiao. Is that so? I think from today onwards, the Heaven Prison Court will no longer have 10 Saint Kings, Ling Xiao said coldly. Arrogant. With just you? That Saint King laughed out of extreme anger. His eyes were filled with undisguised blazing killing intent. Brothers, why don't we join forces to kill this kid first? As for who the Extreme Dao Emperor weapon belongs to, we will depend on our own abilities. This kid's cultivation is only in the Saint realm, but he has such heaven-defying battle strength. He must have an unimaginable secret on him. Saint King Enmo's eyes flashed as she spoke to the other Saint Kings. Sure. No problem. Saint King Enemo also voiced out the other Saint King's thoughts. Everyone's eyes flashed with killing intent as they agreed to Saint King Enmo's suggestion. Rumble. However, at this moment, the universe river not far away began to surge violently. Waves swept across the sky as heaven and earth shook. Vast chaotic mist spread out from the universe river. Chapter 2405. What's that? Hu Feng exclaimed, his eyes revealing a look of disbelief. Above the universe river, chaotic mist swirled as an ancient and ferocious aura spread out. It was as if an ancient ferocious beast from the ancient times had awakened, emitting a fluctuation that made everyone's heart tremble. A huge claw stretched out from the mist. It was as black as ink and covered with black scales. It looked like a heavenly pillar that could hold up the heavens and earth. The universe river became more turbulent as the broken small world gathered into a monstrous wave. It slammed against the claw, but it did not affect it at all. Dong, dong, dong. Like the beating of a heavenly drum, the dull drumbeats beat in everyone's heart, making everyone's heart feel heavy. Their eyes were filled with shock. Roar. Suddenly, an earth-shattering roar was heard. The terrifying sound wave swept out in all directions, sweeping away the endless chaotic mist. A huge ferocious beast appeared above the universe river. Hiss! Everyone could not help but suck in a breath of cold air. The ferocious beast looked like a bull, but it had a ferocious wolf head. Its body was covered with black scales, and its eyes were like blood moons floating in the sky. The key was that the ferocious beast's body was too huge. It was vast and boundless, like a continent floating above the universe river, emitting an insufferably ferocious aura. At this moment, being stared at by the ferocious beast, everyone froze as chills ran down their spines. Could this be the legendary Sky Prison Beast? Saint King Enemo trembled as if she had thought of something. She could not help but exclaim, Sky Prison Beast. When these 3 words were spoken, the bodies of the 10 great Saint Kings instantly trembled. Their eyes revealed various complicated expressions such as fear, excitement, wariness, and so on. Although the Sky Prison Court was a huge prison, it was said that it was the world of the Sky Prison Great Emperor in the ancient times. However, ever since the Sky Prison Great Emperor disappeared, no one in the Sky Prison Court had ever obtained the inheritance of the Sky Prison Great Emperor. The Sky Prison Beast was the legendary mount of the Sky Prison Great Emperor. However, for so many years, there was no trace of the inheritance of the Sky Prison Great Emperor, or the Sky Prison Beast. So, over time, everyone just treated it as a legend and didn't pay much attention to it. As the dominators of the Heaven Prison realm, the 10 great Saint Kings naturally had access to many secrets, including bits and pieces of information about the Heaven Prison Beast in the ancient books. The ferocious beast in front of them was very similar to the Sky Prison Beast they had seen before. The 10 Saint Kings had their own thoughts. Since the Heavenly Prison Beast had appeared, didn't that mean that the inheritance of the Heavenly Prison Emperor would also appear soon? This was even more exciting news than Jinsei's extreme Dao Imperial armament. Although the Sky Hell Beast looked extremely ferocious, in the eyes of the 10 great Saint Kings, it was not undefeatable. Sky Hell Beast. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed as if he had thought of something. Some extremely mysterious fragments appeared in his sea of consciousness. Rumble. At this moment, the Sky Hell Beast went berserk. The universe river surged violently. Chaotic mist rose. Horrifying lightning intertwined. Divine light flashed. The Sky Hell Beast's blood moon-like eyes stared at the 10 great Saint Kings, Ling Xiao, Jinsei, and Hu Feng. Roar. It slowly opened its bloody mouth. It was as if a huge black hole had appeared in the sky. In an instant, an extremely horrifying devouring power burst out. It was like a vast whirlpool that shrouded everyone. At the same time, the Sky Hell Beast stretched out its huge claws. It covered the sky and covered the earth as it tried to grab everyone. No one had expected the Sky Hell Beast to go berserk. It was too sudden. Whoosh. Caught off guard, Hu Feng, Purple Thunder Prince, and Giant Axe did not have the slightest strength to resist. They screamed and turned into 3 streams of light. They were swallowed by the Sky Hell Beast. Rumble. The Sky Hell Beast's huge claws fell. It happened to be heading toward Burning Heaven Saint King. Burning Heaven Saint King's expression changed. He flew out a blade in the sky. The blazing true Burning Heaven flame burst out majestically. He wanted to escape from the Sky Hell Beast's huge claws. However, no matter if it was the blade or the true Burning Heaven flame, they were shattered by the Sky Hell Beast with one slap. They did not pose any threat to the Sky Hell Beast. Burning Heaven Saint King was caught by the Sky Hell Beast like an eagle catching a chick. He was then stuffed into the Sky Hell Beast's mouth. Oh no! This Sky Hell Beast's strength has definitely reached the Imperial Emperor realm. Run! Saint King Inemo and Saint King Wangba's expressions changed drastically. Their eyes were filled with horror. Only now did they realize how terribly wrong they were. As the Sky Hell Emperor's mount, how could the Sky Hell Beast's strength be weak? They were still delusional about attacking the Sky Hell Beast. However, the Sky Hell Beast's slap had shattered all their fantasies. The 9 Saint Kings all used their powers to escape from the Universe River and return to the Sky Hell domain. The Sky Hell Beast was too terrifying. It made them lose any confidence to fight back. Among them, there was a huge claw that was slapping toward Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He protected Jinsei behind him and resisted the devouring power. Then he threw out a punch toward the Sky Hell Beast. Crack! Ling Xiao's terrifying blood chi rose. The purple fist print burst out majestically and collided with the Sky Hell Beast. It was as if there were endless lightning bursting out. Ling Xiao felt an even stronger rebounding force coming toward him. His entire body flew out. The Sky Hell Beast's huge claw trembled slightly. Jinsei, let's go. Ling Xiao did not even think about it. With the help of the rebounding force, he carried Jinsei and was about to teleport away. However, the Sky Hell Beast's eyes immediately fell on Ling Xiao. It was confused, and surprised. It was as if it did not know how such an ant could have such powerful strength. It even felt a little numb in its huge claw. The Sky Hell Beast seemed to be very interested in Ling Xiao. Suddenly, its 2 huge claws reached toward Ling Xiao. Rumble. The other 9 Saint Kings did not escape from the Sky Hell Beast's claws. They could not withstand the Sky Hell Beast's terrifying devouring power. They were all swallowed into the Sky Hell Beast's stomach. In an instant, only Ling Xiao and Jinsei were left on the Universe River. Damn it! Why did the Sky Hell Beast attack us? Ling Xiao's expression was somewhat grave. Although his combat strength was extraordinary, he truly felt powerless in the face of this heavenly hell beast that seemed to have walked out from the primordial times. Boom! Boom! Ling Xiao's physical strength exploded. The primordial immortal body was activated by him. Purple divine light gushed out from his body. The immortal energy spread out. Once again, he collided with the sky hell beast. However, as expected, he was sent flying again. Chapter 2406. Whoosh. Light flashed in Jin Sei's eyes. She took out the yin-yang tai chi diagram, which shone brightly in the void. In an instant, it pressed down on the sky prison beast. Boom. A giant claw of the sky hell beast clashed with the yin-yang tai chi diagram. Blazing divine light rose, and the yin-yang tai chi diagram was shattered. The yin-yang tai chi diagram was also sent flying. Jin Sei trembled, and her eyes were filled with disbelief. The sky prison beast was too terrifying. It was like a boundless continent that contained terrifying energy fluctuations. Ling Xiao and Jin Sei were like ants in front of the sky hell beast, as if they could be crushed to death at any time. Even the yin-yang tai chi diagram, which was an ultimate emperor weapon, could not hurt the sky prison beast. Jin Sei, I will find a chance to send you away. Ling Xiao said to Jin Sei quickly. No. I won't go. Brother Ling Xiao, I will go wherever you go. Let's fight the sky prison beast. Jin Sei's face was filled with stubbornness as she insisted. Jin Sei, you must listen to me. Believe me, the sky prison beast cannot kill me. I will go back and find you. How can I leave you alone in this world? We will have many children in the future. Ling Xiao looked at Jin Sei tenderly and kissed her on the forehead. Jin Sei blushed, but when she looked at Ling Xiao's serious eyes, her heart softened. She nodded heavily and said, Brother Ling Xiao, I promise you. But you must be safe, or I will not live alone. The resolute look on Jin Sei's face moved Ling Xiao immensely. Boom. Boom. Ling Xiao unleashed the power of the primordial immortal body and clashed with the sky hell beast twice. Although he used the rebounding force to create some distance between him and the sky hell beast, he and Jin Sei were already deep in the universe river. In the universe river, huge waves soared into the sky and mist rose. Every drop of water was a broken small world that contained extremely terrifying energy waves. Here, the sky prison beast was not the only threat. The terrifying world waves and endless storms in the Cosmos River posed a great threat to Ling Xiao and Jin Sei. Jin Sei, don't worry. The sky prison beast can't kill me. Later, I will find a chance to entangle the sky prison beast. You hide in the yin-yang tai chi diagram and float down the Cosmos River. You will be able to leave the heaven prison. Wait for me in the divine world. Ling Xiao quickly said to Jin Sei. Rumble. The sky hell beast charged towards Ling Xiao again. Its eyes, which were like blood moons, were filled with monstrous killing intent. It was as if such an ant had blocked its attacks time and time again. It felt as if it had been greatly provoked and was completely enraged. The sky hell beast was tossing and turning in the universe river. Suddenly, a terrifying power burst out, making the universe river tumble and rise. Endless waves hit the sky. Broken worlds turned into dust, forming a terrifying world storm. Heaven Cosmos says Cosmos is Chi Heaven. Cosmos River Heaven Heaven. Come on sky prison beast. A hint of madness appeared in Ling Xiao's eyes, and his entire body instantly emitted a brilliant light. Streams of purple energy coiled around his body like dragons, and the billions of pores all over his body simultaneously spewed out blood-red light. His entire body began to swell up in the air. Rumble. Hundreds of millions of thunderbolts exploded around Ling Xiao. Behind him, a vast heaven-devouring sacred domain appeared, and began to devour the vast energy in the Cosmos River. In an instant, Ling Xiao's body expanded thousands of times. He turned into a giant that was no weaker than the sky prison beast. His aura was extremely terrifying. Ling Xiao threw out a punch. Crack. Ling Xiao and the sky prison beast collided. Ling Xiao staggered back in the Cosmos River. However, he rushed forward and hugged the sky prison beast. Jin Sei go. Ling Xiao roared. Jin Sei was trembling. Her face was full of tears. She looked at Ling Xiao, who was fighting with the sky prison beast, and shouted, "Brother Ling Xiao, you must come back for me. I will wait for you in the God world." After saying that, Jinsei gritted her teeth and turned around to shoot into the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram. In an instant, the yin-yang Tai Chi diagram turned into a stream of light and blended into the universe river. A few huge waves rolled over and disappeared instantly. Roar! The sky-hell beast was completely enraged. Endless black divine light gushed out from its body, boundless and boundless. The entire universe river was trembling violently. Then, a huge whirlpool appeared in the center of the river. The sky prison beast slapped Ling Xiao into the huge whirlpool. Although Ling Xiao had blocked the sky prison beast for a moment, the gap between them was too big. Instantly, Ling Xiao fell into the boundless darkness. However, at this moment, Jinsei had also disappeared. The sky prison beast looked for her in the Cosmos River for a while. Finally, it sank into the Cosmos River unwillingly. Soon, the Cosmos River became calm again. When Ling Xiao woke up from his coma, he found himself in an unfamiliar space. The sky seemed to be soaked in blood and emitted a scarlet light. The ground was black, like the color of dried blood. The void was filled with a fierce aura. "Young Master Ling Xiao, you're awake?" Hu Feng, Huge Axe, and Purple Thunder Young Master appeared beside Ling Xiao and looked at him with great concern. At the same time, Ling Xiao also noticed the 10 great Saint Kings. They gathered in groups of 3 to 5 and looked at Ling Xiao with cold and unfriendly eyes. "What is this place?" Ling Xiao looked at Hu Feng and the other two and asked. He had learned about Hu Feng and the other two's origins from Jinsei, so he was not worried about them. "Young Master Ling Xiao, we don't know where this place is either. After we were swallowed by the sky prison beast, we appeared here. However, we all guessed that this might be the inner world of the sky prison beast. Just now, Burning Sky Saint King wanted to attack you, but he was injured by an inexplicable law. Fighting should be prohibited here." Hu Feng said slowly and pointed at Burning Sky Saint King in the distance. There was a deep wound on Burning Sky Saint King's arm. At this moment, the recovery speed was very slow. When he saw Ling Xiao looking at him, his face turned ugly and he could not help but snort coldly. Just now he wanted to take advantage of Ling Xiao's unconscious state to kill him, but he didn't expect that private fights were prohibited here. He was injured by an inexplicable law, so he didn't dare to make the slightest move. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.